Pittsburgh, where tonight they honor the best Steelers of the last 75 years. And this year's Steelers play the Baltimore Ravens for the AFC North League. Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to Monday Night Football. Things have worked out so far so good for 35-year-old head coach Mike Tomlin. In his rookie year, he has the Steelers at 5-2 atop the division. He's following a familiar blueprint in these parts. Run the ball pretty well, pass when appropriate, tenacious defense. Pittsburgh atop of Division 1 last year by Baltimore. Baltimore was 13-3 last year. They've already lost 3 games, and their 4 wins, they haven't beaten anybody who's all that good, to be honest. Their good news, they get Steve McNair back after their veteran quarterback has missed the last couple of weeks. Joined up here in the booth by Tony Kornheiser and Ron Jaworski on a rainy night in Western Pennsylvania, and that fits the mood, because we always talk about the running backs, the quarterbacks, the offense. Forget it. If you love defense, you've come to a really good place tonight.
Mike, this matchup is not for the faint of heart. Whenever the Ravens and the Steelers get together, it's about smash mouth football. They might as well just meet at the 50-yard line and start swinging right now and see who is left standing. When you look at Rex Ryan, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, he loves to rent space in a quarterback's mind with ever-changing schemes to cause confusion. Last season against the Steelers, that Ravens defense had 14 sacks against Ben Roethlisberger, and 7 times they had a clean shot at Big Ben himself. And then when you think about the Steelers and smash mouth football, it may have been invented right here in Pittsburgh in the 70s with the steel curtain defense, and a lot of them will be here tonight. But Dick LeBeau, the defense coordinator now, has taken this defense to another level. They blitz 1 out of every 3 snaps. Yes, it is the Blitzburg defense. And Mike, if you're Steve McNair or Ben Roethlisberger tonight, you better have your head on a swivel, because the blitz is coming.
You see the Steelers in their throwbacks. It's a game defined by defense. What an appropriate night, Tony, as they honor 75 seasons of Steeler football.
Absolutely. Look around this stadium tonight, and you will see the ghosts of Steelers past. Chuck Noll's legendary steel curtain teams who won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. Bradshaw and Swan and Stallworth and Franco and many more. As the Steelers celebrate their 75th season, it's appropriate to note that the most honored dynasty of the Super Bowl era played right here in Pittsburgh. Not the Cowboys of Aikman, Irvin, and Emmett, who won 3. Not the Redskins of Joe Gibbs, the first time around, who won 3 with 3 different quarterbacks. Not the 49ers Bill Walsh built, who eventually won 5 with Montana and Young, both finding Jerry Rice whenever they had to. Not Shula's undefeated Dolphins, and not yet the Patriots of Belichick and Brady, who are at 3 and counting. No, it's the Steelers of Noll and Bradshaw and Swan and Stallworth and Franco and Webster and Blunt and Lambert and Ham and Mean Joe Green. There's a Hall of Fame here tonight. This is the most celebrated of all the Super Bowl dynasties. Those tough men playing in this rough city of blue collars and steel mills, of lunch pails and hard hats. This is a city where football was born and meant to be played. And those are the men who gave life to that myth and who even now stand tall against the Steel City skyline like giants in the earth. Woo.
As today's Steelers are introduced, a lot of yesterday's Steelers are here. We'll visit with them as the night goes on, as we set the table for Ravens Steelers on Monday Night Football. This telecast is available in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by DLP HD TV. For the story of both quarterbacks, we send it down to the soggy sideline. Michelle Tafoya on Pittsburgh in a second. First, Susie Colbert on the return of Steve McNair. Suze?
Well, Mike, Steve McNair is known as one of the NFL's ultimate tough guys. During his 13-year career, he's had to play through or rally back from a laundry list of major injuries, which adds a lot of weight to his comment that this season has been one of his toughest. That's because the groin injury he suffered on Monday Night Football in Week 1 had such an effect on his entire body. It destroyed his mechanics to the point he couldn't compete. But knowing the smartest thing he could do was let his body heal, he sat out 2 games plus had the bye week. So he returns feeling fresh and focused. And what perfect timing. McNair has been labeled a Steelers killer from 98 to 2003 as a starter and in relief. He helped beat the Steelers 9 out of 11 times, and it continued last season with the Ravens. Michelle, McNair was a perfect 2 for 2.
Well, in those 2 losses to the Ravens last year, Ben Roethlisberger threw 4 interceptions and was sacked a walloping 14 times. Tonight, as painful as it may be, Roethlisberger would much rather be sacked than intercepted. The Steelers want to avoid turnovers at all costs. Considering this, in Pittsburgh's 2 losses this season, Roethlisberger has thrown 4 interceptions. In the 5 wins, he's thrown just 2. Against Baltimore tonight, Ben told us he has to play smart. He said a punt is one of the best plays we can have, and if I have to take a sack, take the sack. We cannot turn the ball over. Mike?
And Michelle, in our Alltel head-to-head, you will see the career records for both quarterbacks against these teams. McNair's 15th start against the Steelers. Big Ben's 7th against Baltimore.
I can still remember that cold night, under moonlight.
Get up, you lazy bum!
In the thick fog. We didn't like each other very much in the first place.
32, baby. Ready?
Right!
It's for the game, boys. You're gonna take them.
We didn't play to win.
Blue, 21.
We played to knock each other out.
Let's knock them down like 10 pins. You gonna line up against me?
I can still feel the sting. Duke was our guy.
Did I hurt your feelings?
He had our back.
16.
It's always been the same. It's either you hit or be hit.
Come on, boys! Keep pounding!
That's why they call it Smash Mouth. Those are the games you remember. The ones worth playing.
And ones played in these parts for quite some time. Whether it was the old Cleveland Browns, which became the Baltimore Ravens, or the current ones. And it is appropriate that it is raining. We had so much rain, the players did get on the field for their early warm-ups. It's a wind-blown rain right now, and that wind might be more of a factor than the rain is as the night goes on, because this seems to be the back line of the showers. That's Reese Lloyd, who is going to kick off. Matt Stover is active. Lloyd likely to kick off tonight. And his kickoff rolling toward the sideline is finally picked up by Najee Davenport of the Steelers. And in throwback uniforms, he takes it to the 31-yard line, and the game begins there. So here comes the Baltimore Ravens defense, and they are a big part of the story, as we alluded to before. Ray Lewis's crew is missing some of the guys who helped so much. Samari Rolle, the 10th-year cornerback who's been to the Pro Bowl. He's been out with a spleen injury that has been bothering him for a couple of games now, missing his 4th game. And Chris McAllister, the 3-time Pro Bowler, is out with a right knee injury. So Derek Martin, Corey Ivy start at the corners tonight.
The guy without his shirt is insane.
Yes, he is.
And he's out of here by halftime on a stretcher.
Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers going into the wind. Willie Parker the carry. Gain of about 2. Ray Lewis right there to make the tackle.
The Ravens defense is very good against the run, only giving up 2.9 yards per attempt. That's the best in the National Football League going into the weekend.
Roethlisberger, the 11th overall pick in the draft in 2004, in his 4th year out of Miami of Ohio, has bounced back from a disappointing season in 06 with a good performance thus far. And the starch from the crowd has been taken out as some of the heaviest rain of the night comes in sheets from left to right as you watch.
And the Steelers go empty, surprising.
Roethlisberger pulls down, has room to run, throws instead to Hines Ward, completes the 46 to the first down gain of 15.
Why I say surprising, the rain is coming down in sheets right now, and with Ben with no one in the backfield, he's got to throw the football. You'll see him on a 3-step drop, trying to get the ball out of his hand, but quick pressure. Ben has been outstanding outside the pocket this season, outside the hash marks. 47 throws, 27 completions. Both those numbers are the most in the National Football League, so Ben likes to move and get out of the rush.
Officially marked at the 47, first down of the game. With Kerry Davis leading the way, it's Parker to the left. Well, Matt Spaeth, the second tight end, could not get any leverage, and he's brought down by Terrell Suggs, the linebacker.
You saw the good numbers for Roethlisberger this year. 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions is all a 102.2 rating. There's a change at coach with the Steelers, and people say that's the biggest change. I say the biggest change is in karma. They had bad karma last year. This year's Falcons were last year's Steelers. It started with Roethlisberger's motorcycle accident, then his appendectomy, then his concussion. They got off to a 2-6 start. They're 5-2 now because he is physically right, and the karma is better for this team.
2nd and 11, driving rain. Again, no backs. And they try the quick shot. It is caught by Hines Ward, but he's going to lose 1.5 yards. Here's Ben to introduce us to the offense that tries to pick up 3rd and 12.
All right, the guy that's got my back at left tackle, Marvell Smith. The leader of the line, left guard, Alan Faneca. At center, number 61, Sean Mahan. At right guard, from Auburn, Kendall Simmons. And the young buck of the line, at right tackle, Willie Colon. And of course, everyone knows we got a bunch of other playmakers that hopefully make plays all night.
Notice the quarterback mentions only his offensive linemen, each by name.
Smart guy.
Yes, he is. See what the Ravens do on 3rd and 12. They bring 5, and Roethlisberger throws down the middle. It is incomplete. Nate Washington was the intended receiver deep down the field. Santonio Holmes also there. In this driving rain, it's going to be hard to complete anything. In case you were not watching on Monday Night Countdown, it started raining at about 5 o'clock. We had some thunderstorms, rare for November thunderstorms here in Pittsburgh. And at 7 o'clock, about 90 minutes before the game, when the players were about to come out on the field for early warm-ups, they cleared the field. Roethlisberger was out there. A lightning bolt hit, so they cleared the field then, and then finally took off the tarp that has been on the field the last few days. Rookie out of Baylor, 2-time the Ray Guide Award winner. Best punter in the nation in college, Daniel Sepulveda. With a bounce, Ed Reed lets it go, and that was a good decision. It's a touchback, so Baltimore will take over at the 20. The kick was 55, the net 35. Steve McNair returns under center for the Ravens after this.
ESPN's Monday Night Football is brought to you by Samsung, the official HD TV of the NFL. Hyundai, now there are more reasons than ever to check out a new Hyundai Azera. Dr. Pepper, with 23 flavors in every Dr. Pepper, there's more to it. And T. Rowe Price, providing investment management excellence for over 70 years. Invest with confidence.
Pittsburgh Steelers, 5 Super Bowl championships, so many of the greats on hand to be honored here tonight. Watch the Ravens and Steve McNair take over from the 20, and Willis McGahee runs into the middle of the pile for about a couple of yards. The rain not as hard right now, but still significant as McNair takes over. As Susie mentioned, second play of the first game of the season. The 34-year-old McNair coming up with a groin injury, and groin and back related problems to that core have kept him out of the last couple of games. Kyle Bowler in his place. Bowler's also had to relieve McNair a couple of times. So it has been a season of only 157 passes in the first 7 games for McNair. LaRon McClain, the fullback with the carry, and McClain's only going to gain about 1.5 yards. Jaws, one of the headlines for McNair returning is also the offensive line returns 3 significant parts that have been out the last week or so.
Mike, you're absolutely right. That has been the biggest problem for the Ravens offensively, the lack of continuity on the offensive line. Right now, they have their 5 best offensive linemen on the field. They feel that they will be able to stay in offense with this group.
Adam Terry, the tackle closest to you. You saw Jonathan Ogden, the left tackle. There's Terry, 78. Mike Flynn, the center, back in there. So they feel like that is going to be important tonight to sustain offense. 3rd and 6. The blitz is picked up by McClain. McNair gets out, stops and throws. It is ruled complete. What a grab by Quinn Sipniewski, who holds on to the 31, a first down. Gain of 7 for the second-year man out of Colorado.
An excellent job by Steve McNair, feeling the pressure, getting outside the pocket. One thing Steve can do is keep the play alive, extend the play. And once again, he's outside the hash. And so far this season, outside the hash, he's completed 16 of 19. So when he gets outside, his eyes are downfield looking for a pass rather than the run.
Good job by Sipniewski, who's the starting tight end, as Todd Heap the two-time Pro Bowler, essentially missing his 4th game of the season with recurring hamstring and knee problems. McNair over the middle, almost intercepted, in and out of the hands of Ike Taylor. How bad is it down there to Michelle Tafoya?
Well, it's bad. As you can see, obviously it's been raining 75 minutes before kick. The tarp came off the field. I talked with Chris Ecton, the turf manager. He calls this turf USGA certified. It drains like a golf course. The difference between now and before the game, Mike, as you pointed out, it's no longer just raining. It is very, very gusty. The flags are blowing. If a kick has to be made down here, that's going to be a huge factor, Mike.
Down to the left, USGA, United States Golf Association. They have studied grass. They have the best possible drainage, but only so much you can do when it rains as hard as it did tonight. Swarmed under is McGahee by Troy Polamalu. Loss of 3.
Excellent job by Troy Polamalu diagnosing the play. The one thing he can do is read and react. You'll see number 43. Once he sees the handoff, he attacks, and he tackles low. He does not miss many tackles. But you'll see Troy Polamalu, number 43, showing up an awful lot tonight in the running game. He's a nosy player. Tony loves to get down near that line of scrimmage. And a muddy night like this, oh, he'll be dirty.
Best in the league.
Need to wash his hair 3 times to be so dirty.
3rd and 13. Rush 5. Getting away for a second from Harrison. Now the ball comes out. It's still free. And you saw the arm reaching in, and Harrison underneath pulls it away. And the Steelers have recovered at the 20. Oh, now wait a minute. Now they pointed to the Ravens on the field. They made a mistake, pointing back to the Steelers. Pittsburgh ball. James Harrison's pressure caused it.
Turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. Here's Troy Polamalu. You see, he occupies Jonathan Ogden. That allows James Harrison to get free to the outside. The zone blitz scheme, he does an outstanding job. Dick LeBeau's scheme caused this turnover. McNair's got to put the football away in these conditions. You can't turn the rock over.
McNair has played 4 games to this point. That was his 5th fumble and his 5th fumble loss, Jaws. That you were a quarterback. You can't.
No,
he's lost each one.
I agree. Most in the National Football League. 5 lost fumbles.
Jason Campbell, Washington, Phillip Rivers, San Diego have 4. Now McNair alone with 5. First down run, Willie Parker to the left. 3 to 17. Terrell Suggs makes the tackle. Boy, that was the definition of putting a hat on the ball. As McNair was winding up to throw, Harrison's crown of his helmet right on the ball to give Pittsburgh a red zone opportunity out of the gate.
And Mike, you immediately see the impact of Troy Polamalu. He came on the blitz. He occupied Jonathan Ogden. You'll see it right here. Now all of a sudden, James Harrison, he gets free. And bang, you talk about, look at that, helmet on the ball. That's textbook coaching right there.
Hines Ward comes in motion toward you. Parker put the brakes on. It's going to be hard to cut and restart here tonight. Haloti Ngata made the stop, and Bart Scott, one of the linebackers, introduces us to the rest of the Ravens defense.
Welcome to Organized Chaos. Start with the men in the middle. We got Trevor Price, Buddy Lee, and Haloti Ngata. On the outside linebackers, we got T Sizzle, Double J, a.k.a. Larry the Cable Guy, and the GOAT, Ray Lewis. And patrolling the airways all night long, we got Ed Reed.
Bart's just coming out of his shell.
He's good. He's good.
They could be doing boxing down the road.
3rd down, needing to get to the 10 for a first down. Show 1, and DeJuan Landry backs out. The Ravens bring 4. Roethlisberger not brought down by Price. Keeps it alive for a touchdown to Heath Miller. Flag is down. Price can't believe the one that got away. Ed Hercules, our referee.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 55. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Touchdown.
Price let one get away, and the 6'5" Roethlisberger kept it alive for a touch.
And he does an outstanding job here. Trevor Price thinks he has the sack right here. But watch Ben. This is the body strength, the upper body strength, the leg strength. Now he gets out of the pocket. Now eyes downfield, looking for a receiver, makes an outstanding throw under duress, and takes A wallop.
Remember, Price with the broken left wrist missed 6 weeks, and you could see that left arm not be able to get there and wrap around Roethlisberger, help Ben shake free for the touchdown, and now Jeff Reed on for the extra point.
This is what you see. Last year, Roethlisberger couldn't do that. Injured, concussions, appendectomy. Healthy this year, he makes that play.
All the Steeler greats are up here in a suite over to our left, including Terry Bradshaw is going to join us here at halftime. See Micho Green, Rocky Bleier, et al. There's so many to name. They have voted on the 75th season of Steeler football and the best players in Steeler history, and many of them are here tonight, and they'll be introduced at halftime to this crowd. We'll hear from some of them as the night goes on.
And none of them wore these helmets, though. You can rest assured on that.
Yamon Figurs, who's had trouble holding on to the ball, sees Reed be the beneficiary of the wind, and he sends it all the way to the end line. Well, defense and making plays. There was one made by Pittsburgh's James Harrison, not made by Baltimore's Trevor Price. Halfway through the quarter, Ravens trailing 7-0. A turnover on their first possession, leading to the Steeler touchdown to Heath Miller. And McNair's pass is complete to Mark Clayton to the 26-yard line. The importance of our game here tonight, obviously a division game, always so important. The Steelers trying to stay full length ahead of the surprising Cleveland Browns at 5-3. If Baltimore is able to win this road game tonight, we'll have a three-way tie atop the division. And certainly Cincinnati, one of the disappointments in the NFL this year at 2-6. Cincinnati lost yesterday in Buffalo, but glad to report Chad Johnson, who was taken off the field by a stretcher, showing no after effects from his neck injury. We wish Chad the best. They try to get movement on Jonathan Ogden, the left tackle, and the 10-time Pro Bowler will be flagged.
Ball start, offense, number 88. 5-yard penalty, it's second down.
And here's the offense that'll try to pick it up. Wide receiver Derek Mason, the introduction.
Hello, everyone in TV land, and introducing to you the offense for the Baltimore Ravens. At left tackle, Jonathan Ogden, the Jolly Green Giant. And at center, we got Mike Flynn, the guy's getting younger by the day. And underneath him, we got Steve Air McNair. And behind Steve, we got Willis McGahee and LaRon McClain. And at tight end, Big Sip, Quinn Sipnewski. And at wide out, Mark Clayton.
They go back to the ground, and McGahee gets only to the 24. We'll have 3rd and 6 coming up. Larry Foote putting the stop on the former Buffalo Bill, Willis McGahee, who had 990 yards last year in Buffalo, a career low, unhappy with the contract, traded over here to the Ravens, and through 8 weeks in the NFL, coming into the game coming to the week, 3rd in yards rushing.
The Steelers, the #1 blitzing team in the National Football League, 126 blitzes through 7 games. You can almost expect one here on this 3rd and 6.
You know it's coming, you just don't know who's coming.
They're coming.
They're all coming. Polamalu is almost there. McNair throws incomplete. The pressure getting to McNair came from Brett Kiesel, who got past the center, Mike Flynn.
It's probably way too early in the game to say this, Jaws, but do you think the Steelers are playing like they remember what happened last year when they got beat 27-0 and 31-7 by Baltimore?
And you'll see the Steelers defense in what they call their sugar. In Buffalo, they called it the creep, Tony. And I didn't mean it was about you. In Buffalo, it was the creep. They called it the sugar here in Pittsburgh, where all those guys stand up on the line of scrimmage on the defense.
Sam Cook with the kick. Very nice, pinning Allen Rossum to the sideline. 51-yard kick from the 25. Nice room for Rossum. Brought down at the 36 by Prescott Burgess, the young linebacker for the Ravens. We have a penalty marker down back near the spot of the kick. A few yards past the line of scrimmage. Nine plays, 9 yards thus far for Musa Smith and the rest of the Ravens offense.
They look bewildered.
During the punt, holding number 54, the receiving team. That 10-yard penalty will be enforced from where the kick was caught. Pittsburgh keeps the ball, first down.
Andre Frazier with the flag, since where it's caught, so it goes back inside the 20. Thus far, 9 plays and a whole bunch of hits on number 9. Brian Billick coming over to talk with his veteran quarterback, Steve McNair. Remember, McNair missed the last 2 games with his injury, an off week last week, so McNair seeing the field for a first time in a month. The time the Steeler fans crammed in, we'll see their team have to go 85 yards. The penalty takes Ben Roethlisberger and the offense back to the 15. Willie Parker, a little bubble to run, gets about 3 to the 18-yard line. We know that Roethlisberger started out 13-0, best start by a rookie, the youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl, although he only completed 9 passes in Super Bowl 40, the win over Seattle in Detroit. And then Tony talked about the bad karma, the problems last year. Where would Roethlisberger fit as a profile for a quarterback right now, Jaws?
After spending some time with Ben on Saturday, the one thing I feel about him, he is very comfortable now within his own skin, within this offense, and with Bruce Arians, who's a defensive coordinator, putting this offense together. He is at a very strong comfort level right now.
2nd and 7. Ben sees no press coverage against Hines Ward. Throws to him. We'll have 3rd and 2. Corey Ivy made the tackle. Come back to the first part of what you said. In his own skin. First, the leadership that you see out of Ben.
No question about it. He's become a leader on his football team. You said his 4th year. He now has matured as an NFL quarterback. The players in that offense look to him for leadership. From an on-field standpoint, I still believe Ben is outstanding in the play-action game. And if the first receiver comes open, I still don't believe he processes information quickly to get to his other options and stay with that progression. He likes to bolt out of the pocket, and why not? He's very good at it.
He'll do 3rd and 2 out of the gun. Pressure comes from Bart Scott. Ben gets out of there and throws incomplete behind it, Washington, but a flag down back by the pass rush.
Holding offense number 73. The penalty is declined. Brings up 4th down.
Right guard Kendall Simmons saw Bart Scott busting in, held him, and Pittsburgh will punt it away.
When you get in those 3rd down situations against the Ravens, they like to attack your protection schemes. We've already heard it twice coming into this game. 14 sacks in the 2 games last year the Ravens had against Ben Roethlisberger. They're not always on the quarterback. They're against your protection schemes. Rex Ryan, the defensive coordinator, does a really good job of breaking down your protections.
Yamon Figures punt return for a touchdown came against Arizona. We have a penalty marker down on a 49-yard punt and 2 fouls now as Figures is brought down up by the head at the 35-yard line by Clint Freewalt, the linebacker, and James Harrison. So we have multiple fouls on this play, and I don't think either of the calls was on Harrison.
Number 97 of the kicking team was illegally downfield before the kick. 5-yard penalty.
Like there were like 5
Correction,
flags.
there's another foul.
And Hockley as he runs over to the other foul. Wait a minute. Yeah. I've got more.
Yeah, one more. We have an amusement park.
Have you been sitting on that line, Jaws?
Yeah, I have been.
Okay, good.
I just want to wake Tony up.
I'm up.
You get it, Tony?
I get it.
Yeah, all right.
James Harrison was whistled for or Arnold Harrison was whistled for the first flag. James Harrison was the one on the hit. And Baltimore may have Pittsburgh re-kick this one. As Hockley sorts it out, here's the Harrison hit. And there was a flag down near the catch before that foul. And then we had 2 hats thrown by officials. So once you're out of flags, you throw your hat for a penalty. And these poor folks sitting in the rain.
It's pouring rain, the wind.
Let's move it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on and let's go.
Well, the referee, Ed Hockley, goes over to Brian Billick to give him his options. I think reading Brian's lips, he said 15 more yards. So he's seeing the option.
Hockley doesn't want this game to go too long because he's got a date at the gym where he can do push-ups and sit-ups and get even bigger by midnight. So he wants to move the game.
Yeah, he's not real happy he has to wear those long sleeves today. That's football right there. Look at this guy, man.
No, that's lunacy.
That's football, Tony. You're in a hotbed of football right here. This is where it started. These fans are into it.
there were fouls by both teams on the play. There was an ineligible downfield by the kicking team. There was also a personal foul during the kick. By rule, an option is to re-kick. Replay 4th down, and that's what the team has chosen. It's 4th down at the previous spot.
That was well done. Now I understand it.
So none of that happened. And we're back to Daniel Sepulveda, the rookie out of Baylor, kicking. And this time, Ed Reed goes back. We saw Reed take a punt back 63 yards on opening night against Cincinnati. Sepulveda hits this one, but the bounce works for him. Reed, great hands to scoop at the 32. Needs one more block to turn the corner. Ball out, flag down. Steelers have it. In the air, caught by Lawrence Timmons out of Florida State. I think that flag is a block in the back, and Reed having the ball pop up in the air on the contact by Andre Frazier is going to lose it. And Harrison was there as well again. It was James Harrison.
It was James Harrison. Once again, the helmet right on the football. Clinical tackling. James Harrison causes another turnover.
During the return, illegal block in the back by Baltimore, number 81. That penalty is declined. Pittsburgh keeps the ball, 1st down.
Yamon Figures had struggled with returns. He had fumbled a couple of times, took the high hit from James Harrison. So Ed Reed goes back. Reed made a really tough borderline decision on that bouncing ball to pick it up. He secured it, had a good return going, and then had on a helmet again. So James Harrison's been the hero so far for Pittsburgh.
These are the magic helmets, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Magic helmets.
They'll want to wear these every game, these throwback helmets. But those are textbook form tackles by James Harrison. The little leaguers out there, the high school players there, they ought to just watch that, because that's how you make a tackle. Lead with your shoulder, put your helmet on the football, create fumbles, create turnovers.
Remember, we saw the Ravens turn it over 6 times in the Monday Night opener against Cincinnati. After that, they only turned it over 6 times. And we're back, and here they go again. 2 turnovers in the first.
They must hate to see us.
So the Steelers, who had a drive take over at the Baltimore 20, have one at the Baltimore 28. And Parker is brought down in the backfield by Justin Bannon. Loss of 3.5. Here's Michelle.
Mike, when Joey Porter left for Miami, everyone thought, how are we going to replace him? Here is James Harrison. And James Ferrier, a linebacker, told me the Porter's replacement, James Harrison, has done a great job. He said, we haven't missed a beat. Harrison came into this game with 42 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. Meanwhile, Porter's down in Miami really suffering, and James is filling in beautifully, Mike.
Harrison, who made this team as an undrafted free agent back in 2002, was released in 2003, had 8 starts in 3 years before this season. He's had a big impact this year and tonight. 2nd and 13, Roethlisberger looking for somebody open. Throws it away, flag down on Corey Ivy. Ivy covering Ward.
2 flags on the play now. The ball was actually thrown behind Hines Ward as Ben escaped the pocket. See Hines Ward right there. He's the inside receiver, now going inside, swinging back to the outside, looking for the opening.
Pass interference defense. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. 1st down.
In yardage, it's just a 5-yard, 6-yard penalty, but it will be a 1st down for Pittsburgh at the 23.
It's one of those situations where a poor throw worked out well. If the ball was out toward the sideline, it probably would have been incomplete. It was thrown behind Hines Ward, and Corey Ivy ran into Hines Ward because he had to slow down.
A self-destructive opening quarter here for the Ravens. Looking nothing like the veteran team that won the division by 5 games a year ago. Roethlisberger for Santonio Holmes, incomplete. Penalty marker back in the secondary. Thrown in the direction of Derek Martin, one of those cornerbacks, filling in because of the injury to Chris McAllister.
Before the pass was thrown, illegal contact, defense number 52. 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
It'll be called on Ray Lewis, and here's Susan.
Well, Mike, we know the Ravens, without their two starting cornerbacks and Ed Reed, the safety, really feeling like he's carrying the burden physically and mentally. We know how much he studies. He told me he was going to study even more this week, and I'm watching him talk to the corners quite a bit more. And Reed has been accused of sometimes trying to take too many risks. Not tonight. He knows he has to be patient. It's his responsibility to try not to do too much. The last thing he needed was to be popped on that punt return. He's kind of looked gassed ever since.
Trying to keep it alive here at the 18 for Baltimore's defense, and Haloti Ngata and Bart Scott waiting on the Parker carry of just a couple, and Ray Lewis really, after the flag, even more animated than normal.
Penalties are killing the Ravens once again. They average 8.1 penalties per game. That's the second most in the NFL. Ray does an outstanding job here of staying at home, playing with great discipline. Once Willie Parker tries to cut back, Ray is there waiting for him. Little emotion.
Talked about him being animated. He'd be in Shrek if he were any more animated than that.
2nd and 7, blitz picked up. Roethlisberger to the end zone. Santonio Holmes, touchdown, Pittsburgh.
This is now becoming the nightmare scenario for Baltimore. They can't get out of their own way. They can't even get to midfield. They've given up the ball twice. Twice it has resulted in touchdowns, and they can't pass the ball down the field themselves, Jaws. They are not a good scoring team, and they're already down 14.
Well, you see Ray Lewis on the blitz. Willie Parker does an outstanding job of picking the blitz up, giving Ben time to focus downfield, and he throws a strike to Santonio Holmes right between two defenders. Excellent job of hanging in the pocket by Ben Roethlisberger, understanding that Willie Parker was going to pick up Ray Lewis on the blitz.
Jeffrey Dexter point. Greg Warren snapped it. Sepulveda holds it. Roethlisberger's thrown 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. 17 on the season. And Pittsburgh puts 14 early on Baltimore.
No. I got it.
Santonio Holmes with his 5th touchdown of the season, 7th of his career. The first-round pick out of last year really came on late in the season at the 67-yard overtime score that eliminated Cincinnati last year. 2 turnovers by the Ravens, short field, and Brian Billick's team's in a hole now. 14-0.
Yeah.
The Reed kickoff is returnable. Yamon Figures back in after taking the hit on the punt earlier, and Figures takes it out to the 25-yard line.
McAllister and Roll are out, so you have Corey Ivy match against Santonio Holmes. It's up to Holmes to beat the corner. It's up to Roethlisberger to beat the safety. Now, Santonio Holmes wins. Now, Ben does squeeze it in there. He beats Ed Reed, the safety. You'll see it right here. There's who Ben has to beat, right there, the safety. He knows on the outside, Santonio Holmes already won. He holds Ed Reed in the middle of the field, and he squeezes that throw in there. Outstanding job by Ben Roethlisberger.
And again, if you're just tuning in, McAllister, Samario out with injury. David Pittman was the corner who got beat on that play. The first down run for McGahee only gains 2 yards.
Here's the problem that they have right now, Baltimore. They can't pass the ball downfield. McNair's attempts, are preposterously low in terms of the yardage he gets, even when he completes a lot of passes. They can't score. They're 25th in the league in scoring. They're already down 14. Ray Lewis and all the defenders want them to run more because they say that's their identity. But Jaws down 14-0 in conditions like this. Running doesn't get you back in the game. They've got to throw, and they don't go deep.
It's still a bit early to panic. I think they have to be somewhat patient.
10 plays, 10 yards so far. McNair's pass is complete to Derek Mason, working for the sticks. He's a couple of yards shy. We'll have 3rd and 2 coming up. Tony, to illustrate your point, Steve McNair at the back end of his Tennessee days, 15% of his passes downfield. That's throwing it from the line of scrimmage, downfield, 21 yards or more. Decreased, and then getting to Baltimore down, and this year precipitously down. If you look at the NFL average, it gives you an idea. McNair throws 20 yards or more downfield, trying to get a big play, half as much as the average NFL quarterback. Not good. Down 14, not good. 3rd and 2, McGahee, the lone back. They'll run with Willis, who dances, made a man miss, lost the football. Will you believe they have turned it over 3 times in the first quarter? Pittsburgh has it. I think Anthony Smith, the safety, was at the bottom of the pile, and the second-year man from Syracuse comes up with the quarter's 3rd turnover.
This is potentially disastrous, obviously, Jaws. I know you don't want me to call the game.
No,
I'm not going to do it.
It's obvious that here, Willis McGahee, in conditions like this, you have to wrap the football up. McGahee has always had a fumbling problem, but you're in traffic. You can't be swinging the ball out there with one hand. Troy Polamalu comes in. He sees that ball failing, just knocks it out. When you're in traffic, it's about ball security #1. The Ravens are not taking care of the football, and they're going to get blown out of here, Tony, unless they do start taking care of it.
What a play by Polamalu, flying in with the right hand and getting the ball from McGahee. 3rd possession starting in Ravens territory. Parker is bumped down by Kelly Gregg to end the disastrous quarter for Baltimore. So just like the opening Monday night of the season in Cincinnati, the Ravens have turned it over 3 times in the first quarter, and it was veterans McNair, Ed Reed, Willis McGahee. On a night they honor the Steeler greats of the past, the big plays from the Steelers defense, getting them off to a 2-touchdown lead on Monday Night Football. Well, many years in Pittsburgh, many years on Monday Night Football, the magic of the Steeler great days, 4 Super Bowl championships. Twice back-to-back Terry Bradshaw, one of the main honorees tonight as they celebrate 75 years of Steeler football. It's been a celebration for the 07 Steelers thus far as the first down carry gains about 4 yards. Second down carry for Willie Parker. And his 3rd down gets going with some pushing and shoving there with Cologne and Haloti Ngata. We are joined in the booth and say hello to Terry Bradshaw. You been on TV before?
A couple of times. I'm a little nervous. I've never been on Monday night. This is pretty cool.
You've been on Monday night a bunch on the field.
Well, on the field, but never.
You know what I feel grateful for? A couple of weeks ago, we had Russell Crowe in the booth. Now we have a strong, bald man in the booth, and I feel good about that. Not Russell Crowe. Guy with no hair, tough.
I feel good standing next to you, too.
I'm with both of you, by the way. I'm not too far behind. From the 30, from here, a field goal is 47. The pressure comes on Roethlisberger, who gets out of jail and on the run, throws a touchdown to Nate Washington. Goodness me.
Once again, the Ravens come with the blitz. They are a blitzing football team. They blitz 2nd most in the NFL behind the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger has the ability to get outside the pocket. That's the key, extending the play, breaking the tackle of Terrell Suggs. Oh, it's an easy throw once he gets outside the pocket. He finds Nate Washington, easy touchdown for the Steelers, but it's all on Roethlisberger extending the play with his movement.
They may be a blitzing football team at the moment. They're a done blitzing football team.
Well, they're not tackling right now.
Reed for the extra point. For Washington, his first touchdown of the year, 5th of his career. Baltimore's 3 fumbles have turned into 3 touchdowns to Heath Miller, Santonio Holmes, and that one to Nate Washington, 21-0 Pittsburgh. You know, Terry, we were talking to Ben Roethlisberger Saturday about the aura of the 75th anniversary of the Steelers and the position he has to play, knowing that you define that position in this city. Give me your impressions of what you've seen out of Ben this year.
I talked to him before the game, and I just told him how proud I was of him, the way he's playing. I said, forget about last year's aberration. Don't worry about that. And just keep playing the way you're playing. He's always been good, Mike. He has always played well, and he'll continue to play well. He'll continue to grow. And it reminds me so much of that guy up in New England, only the fact is he has better movement. He can get out, as you pointed to earlier, Josh.
No question about it. That's the one thing you see about Roethlisberger is the strength to break tackles, much like you were able to do, Terry. You were one of those guys who got outside the pocket.
Have you seen me standing next to him? My God, I look like...
Oh, they're a lot
bigger now.
You look like me next to you. Is that where you were going, Terry?
I'd say that.
Exactly right.
You know, I can remember some conversations Terry and I have had in the past, and I would talk about reading the safety, best located safety, linebacker, and reading the right coverage.
Why?
He would laugh at me.
Yeah, I don't understand why you do that.
Yeah, because I didn't have a Stallworth and Swan and those great players. I had a couple pretty good ones now, but not the plethora of guys you had. You're right, I am making excuses.
Yamon Figures back deep for the kickoff. Figures tracked it down to the 5. Ravens desperate for a play, steps out to 22. Well, Monday Night Football and Terry Bradshaw used to sound something like this.
Hello again, everyone. The noise is deafening. The atmosphere in this town, which they now call Titletown, is festive. There he is, the most resourceful, the best wide receiver in football. Ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers as they can play.
Feel good about that. You gotta like that. Gotta like the archive footage on that.
Honest to God, I know you. First time I ever did Monday Night Football, they said Howard Cosell wants to interview you. I have to go out live on television. He walks, ladies and gentlemen, coming over now, the NFL's #1 flop. I swear. Oh, I about died, Jaws. About passed out right there. And then he laughed.
Penalty marker as James Harrison and McNair. This may be a post-play foul. I don't know if there was taunting or conversation going on.
You got a lot of stuff there, don't you, my friend? How in the
Intentional
world
grounding. Offense number 9. The ball is placed at the spot of the pass, and a loss of down brings up second down.
Terry, what do you think? We just come up here and win?
I'm looking at all this work, you guys.
Up here.
Look at this.
That's real stuff.
I've never seen so many stats in my life.
When I'm working with Jaworski, I better have something to say. Come on now.
The loss of down on the penalty will be a loss of 13 to 2nd and 23 as this nightmare in the Steel City continues. Wow. Wow. It's interesting, Terry, and this is a Ravens team that was 13-3, won the division by 5 games, most of the key parts back. They've looked nothing like it since.
But you know what? I've never understood when Brian Billick got hired. He came from Minnesota. The fact was, he was a guy that would bring in explosive offense, and it's been anything but that. It's always been this type of offense. I thought when he had Jamal Lewis running the football and winning Super Bowls, playing great defense, was the ticket. But my gosh, you would think he would at least try to get it down the field. Football talk.
The terrible irony is he's never had the quarterback that they thought he'd bring in.
McNair just runs it with Musa Smith. Gets it to the 19-yard line, tackled by James Farrier. And they will take it away.
One of the quarterbacks who was with the Ravens 2 years ago and cut, Derek Anderson, has 17 touchdown passes this year, 5 in one game. The Ravens this year have 5. In however many games they played, more than 1, I guarantee you. So they got no quarterback. Certainly McNair has not been the quarterback as advertised when he came in last year.
Sam Cook to kick to Allen Rawson. Rawson slips, falls, tells everybody to get away. It's a 37-yard punt, no return, be marked at the 43. We'll ask Terry about the 75-year celebration with the Steelers when we come back.
ESPN's Monday Night Football is brought to you by GMC, official vehicle of the NFL and proud supporter of those who want it more. Miller Lite, for award-winning taste, there's no debate. Miller Lite, good call. Capital One, what's in your wallet? And Circuit City, for the hottest new technology, think Circuit City.
Steel City on this first Monday of November. 3 turnovers by Baltimore have led to 3 touchdowns by Pittsburgh and a 21-0 Steeler lead. Terry Bradshaw joining us in the booth. Talk to Terry about this 75-year celebration of Steelers football. As Willie Parker carries here for a yard, it'll be 2nd down and 9. Terry, the 4 Super Bowl championships and the most valuable player trophies. Is there one of the 2-time Super Bowl MVPs, the 2 that you have? Is there one that means more?
Well, not the MVPs. I don't really think about, but the universe. I think universally speaking, everyone today in this luncheon we had all said that Super Bowl IX, the very first Super Bowl, Mike, was the one we all cherished the most. Why? What's first? you don't know if you got the right coach, got the right players, got the right formula, got the right plays, so on and so forth. And it proved it all. Yeah, we got everything we need.
You were doing your Fox duties. There was a great gala here last night, and then a luncheon today with so many of the Steelers who were in town. Parker just gained a couple. John Stallworth, Lynn Swan. What was it like to be? There was a great team photo of. What was it like to be in the room with the guys one more time tonight?
Fun. As you can, hey, Ron, there's nothing like it, right? It's just fun. We don't get together that often, and to be around so many great players, and we accomplished so many wonderful things together. And you see them, and we started telling stories. None of us tell stories. We never talk about these things until we're together, and then we start sharing these stories and started laughing. It's a pretty special day. This has been fun.
It was great to hear you telling stories about seeing Joe Green when you were a rookie.
Oh, boy.
And Joe Green throwing helmets and throwing footballs, getting kicked out of games.
Amazing.
This is 3rd and 6. Baltimore in desperate need of a turnover. Roethlisberger is finally brought down on the pressure by Jerome Sapp, the safety. So the Steelers will be forced to punt.
Your teams are the most honored of all the dynasties in the Super Bowl era, and everybody knows that. It's almost 30 years for some of the victories, right? Does it seem 30 to you?
It does now. I mean, Tony, yeah, it does now. It's getting to be harder and harder to realize that, 80 was our last one. That's 20-something. Yeah, it's been a long time ago. So, yeah, it does seem like it.
Sepulveda with the punt. Figures will let it bounce. It goes out of bounds. Terry will be down in the field at halftime. Thanks for coming up. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, you guys
We'd like to have as much fun as you do on the
We are. Try it. You need to try it. Ron, always.
Best, man.
You bet.
The rain has returned as the Ravens take over at their own 18 in a 3-touchdown hole. Willis McGahee past Polamalu, tackled by Taylor. Let's introduce you to the rest of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And here to do that, Larry Foote, their linebacker. We'll get to Larry in a moment. Mike Tomlin, the 35-year-old head coach. And you know the story if you've watched the Steelers all year. It's Mike Tomlin coming in after a year as the defensive coordinator at Minnesota. And what did he do? He was very smart. He held on to Dick LeBeau as his defensive coordinator. Didn't go to what Tomlin knew as the Tampa 2 defense. Stayed with LeBeau's 3-4. And the Steelers defense paying dividends, leading the league in points and yards allowed thus far this year. 2nd and 8. McNair. Harrison forced another turnover. Near turnover. McGahee's got it. He's trying to keep the play alive and avoid a safety. And Harrison brings him down. Forward progress will keep that from being a safety. So he stopped inside the 1. It is the James Harrison night in the first 20 minutes of the game.
He is a defensive beast, if that would be the term. Mike Tomlin very happy to play with James Harrison. You'll see him right here from the stand-up linebacker position. He's actually double-teamed to start the play. He beats the tackle of Jason Brown, beats the tackle of Jonathan Ogden. Great pressure on Steve McNair, causing another fumble.
This is, you know what this is turning into? What? A homecoming game. It means it's like the Steelers handpicked the opponent because they're celebrating 75 years, and Baltimore is doing everything it can to make this totally joyful for Pittsburgh and taking themselves out of contention for the playoffs at the moment.
Fans are very frustrated that it wasn't a safety, but that's the correct call because the forward progress of McGahee at the 1, then he got pushed straight back. 3rd and a quarter of the field.
Delay of game offense. Half the distance to the goal. 3rd down.
Wow. There's nothing to add to that. That's just awful. That's all it is. The 3 fumbles all turning into 21 points. Against a 3-man rush, it's Derek Mason with the catch. Polamalu tackles him at the 8. And that'll be enough room for the full snap for the upcoming punt by Cook.
Troy Polamalu, number 43, all over the field. You see him read the quick pass, comes in and make the tackle, the sure tackle. This is a very good tackling defense. All too often, we overlook tackling. The Steelers tackle very well.
So just one first down tonight for the Ravens here in the first 21.5 minutes. And Cook kicks to Rossum. Rossum will let bounce. A punt that goes 40 yards and will be at midfield as the Steelers take over. Well, so much for Joey Porter. It's James Harrison's turn to make a name for himself on Monday night. The famed confluence, the Allegheny on the left, the Monongahela on the right. They meet right there to form the Ohio, the Three Rivers meeting at the point of downtown Pittsburgh. 21-0 Steelers, and Roethlisberger looking for a first down home run for Santonio Holmes, who holds on. First signal was touchdown, then it was pulled away by Corey Ivy. Simultaneous possession belongs to the offense. The officials still having a conversation. The incomplete now. The first official went up with the touchdown signal.
Holmes and Ivy both go up for the football.
By rule, he has to maintain continuous possession after hitting the ground.
First part of Ed Hochuley's words where the receiver lost the ball. Got it there. It's coming out as he comes down. The question is, does it ever hit the ground to be an incomplete pass?
Yes. The ball is on the ground. He did not maintain possession through the catch, which you must do in the end zone.
There you see, it's like, I'll tell you what, that's a great recall of that play. Because that is really slowed down with 7 looks until we figured out that was the right call. That is a fabulous job. Parker left side gains 4 to the 45.
There are 2 people in the stands here who are thinking to themselves, I'd have held that, and I think they're Swan and Stallworth.
That could have been the rare combo challenge where we both think we have the ball and we both want to challenge this one. Well, they're picking on the corners. Ivy and Derek Martin have both been exposed at different times here. Again, you can't overstate it enough. A couple of Pro Bowl guys in Samari Rowland, Chris McAllister, not here tonight, out with injury. Najee Davenport in on 3rd and 5.
Once again, the Ravens showing blitz.
Ray Lewis picked up. First down picked up. Hines Ward taken out to the 36-yard line.
Ben Roethlisberger's been sharp all night. Here's what I love about Ben. He can shake people off. Trevor Price, get out of my way. Watch this. Head downfield, looking to throw the football. Finds Heath Miller in the back of the end zone. Once again, right here. Escapes the pocket. Gets away from Terrell Suggs. Look at the eyes. Downfield, looking for a receiver. This is what's called extending the play, folks. And that is doing it very well.
You have made the point about him that he's one of the quarterbacks who doesn't ever want to run. He wants to throw in that position. He's not looking maybe like Tom Brady would to pick up additional yardage by running.
Well, I think Brady falls into the same mold. I think Brady likes to move. The mobility is to throw the football. Roethlisberger, bigger and stronger, does like to get outside the pocket.
Parker gains 2, 2nd and 8 from the 33 coming. It's late on the pile here with a lot of guys unhappy. You know, Mike Tomlin takes over as the head coach, and you change with the offensive coordinator. Ken Whisenhunt becomes Arizona's head coach. Bruce Arians takes over. There you see Bruce as the offensive coordinator. What's it been like, the relationship between Arians and Ben Roethlisberger, Ron?
It's been outstanding. You know, of course, when Arians was here the last couple of years, they developed and fostered a relationship. And now you can see they're working together. Ben's much more involved in the game plan. Comes in on Tuesday and spends time developing the game plan.
Parker trying to run to the right. Ray Lewis, Bart Scott was able to get in there and make the tackle for a loss of a couple of yards. Arians was on this staff, and Mike Tomlin had a brief history but an understanding of Bruce Arians and was very comfortable with turning the offense over to him as the offensive coordinator, because Whisenhunt and Russ Grimm, both potential head coach candidates here. Russ Grimm, many thought was going to get the job. They were on the offensive side of the ball. Arians and Roethlisberger together, that input, the communication, have hit it off right from the start. So important when you have a coaching change, how the coordinator and the quarterback get together. Been a good fit so far.
That chemistry is paramount.
3rd and 9, blitz picked up. Santonio Holmes has a step. Santonio Holmes has his 2nd touchdown. 5 yards, beating Derek Martin.
The great speed of Santonio Holmes. He gets matched against Derek Martin right here. Now it is just a pure speed route, a go route. Derek Martin tried to grab the jersey, had no shot. Too much speed. Holmes runs right by him. When you're down to your third and fourth corner as starters, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get guys running by him, the great speed of Holmes.
So he couldn't quite come down with it in the left side of the end zone, but in the right side of the end zone it works.
Better lighting at that corner.
Ben Roethlisberger ties a career high with 4 touchdown passes. They've all come in the first half. Next Monday night, we see the leaders in the NFC West. If anybody wants to lead there, Seattle lost in overtime over in Cleveland. They will take on the San Francisco 49ers. Niners lost to Atlanta yesterday. Seahawks, Niners, their game in Seattle last year was a big comeback for San Francisco in the fourth quarter. See you Monday night from the Great Northwest at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Ben Roethlisberger, 4 touchdown passes for the third time this year in one game. Did it against Cleveland in the opener and a few weeks ago in Denver.
Mike, it's not even halftime yet.
Ron, I'm well aware of that. Yaman Figures with a return to the 43-yard line. The touchdown route.
Santonio Holmes, great speed, match against basically the fourth corner for the Ravens, runs right by him. As a corner, you can't give that free access to a guy with the speed of Santonio Holmes. He runs right by him. Martin has no shot. Roethlisberger, terrific throw right in the box. Martin looking for the ball, can't see it. Touchdown Steelers.
And we did look during the timeout at replay. He did do a good job of tucking it under himself and holding on for the score. Steve McNair and the Ravens try to get something on the board before the half. Derek Mason shown the sideline by Ike Taylor. Back to Roethlisberger and a pretty darn good first half. Terry Bradshaw against Atlanta in '81. Terry just in the booth with us. And our former colleague Mark Malone against the Colts in '85 have 5 touchdown passes in the game. That's the Steeler record. Ben has 4 here in this first half.
He's all pumped up. He got me pumped up.
McNair back to Mason, this familiar connection from their Tennessee days. About 1.5 yards shy of the first down. We'll have 3rd and 1 coming up.
Right now, the Ravens just need a first down to stop the bleeding, to let their defense take a blow on the sideline, gather themselves, make some changes. Right now, they're just getting nuked.
What changes would you like them to make other than leaving the stadium?
What? Maybe cover some people, get some pressure on the quarterback, create a turnover. It's been an abysmal performance thus far.
Well, this is a baby step. First time they're in Steeler territory tonight. 3rd and 1 against the 4-man pressure. 3 consecutive passes to the sure-handed Mason. Gets a first down at the Pittsburgh 45.
Again, their obvious problem would be that in order to score, which they do very rarely, they're 25th in the league in scoring, they have to move methodically down the field.
But now they're going to their no-huddle offense, Tony. They want to speed the tempo up.
3 passes to make 1 first down is not that great, Jess.
Baby steps.
In the 45, McGahee picked up the pressure, and it's an interception. Let's just send James Harrison directly to Honolulu in the Pro Bowl. Wow. He has had a half that could get him on the 75-year all-time Steeler team. Interception along with a couple of fumbles he has forced tonight.
An excellent job by James Harrison. He does a terrific job of dropping into coverage, reading Steve McNair. Steve never saw him. This is what a linebacker has to. Look back in the backfield, peer in at the quarterback, see the throw, and jump the throw. James Harrison has been absolutely phenomenal in the first half.
Joey Porter played where?
Who?
That's right. James Harrison in the first half has had a season for a defensive player. Three forced fumbles and a pick. Just a couple of yard run there from Parker to the 42, and here's Michelle.
Well, I am standing by with two Hall of Famers, two members of the Steelers all-time team, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth, members of the 1974 draft class together. Lynn, what's it been like for all you guys to get back together this weekend?
Well, it's always a great deal of fun. We try and get together on a number of occasions, like John's golf tournament in Alabama for his scholarship fund. But to be voted to this team by the fans is something very special.
John, I noticed you guys are really getting excited over the results of this game. I guess when you spend your entire career as a Steeler, it never leaves you.
You're always a Steeler. You're always a Steeler. We're celebrating a legacy that started 75 years ago with the Roonies, and we're glad to be a part of it.
You know, one of the other, hold on.
Roethlisberger to Parker, first down, 27.
One of the other wide receivers on the all-time team is Hines Ward. He broke one of your records already, John, the receptions record, and you sent him a letter. What did you want to say to him?
I told him to stop it. Just stop it right now. No, I wanted to say congratulations. Your records are made to be broken. Hines is a great guy. We like him. He's a humble guy, and I can't think of a guy better to break records than to have him in Pittsburgh Steelers.
3 more touchdowns, he breaks your touchdown record. 441 yards receiving, he breaks your receiving record. He wanted to really impress you guys. He feels really honored to be in your company, Lynn. What do you think of Hines as a receiver?
Well, when they won the Super Bowl 40, I introduced Hines to the crowd when they had the parade downtown. And for myself and for John, 'cause I know John feels the same way, we wanted to pass the torch on to Hines Ward. All the fans in Pittsburgh got a chance to experience what their fathers had experienced when we won Super Bowls. Now those kids or parents experiencing the same thing in Super Bowl 40, and Hines Ward carries a legacy of what we think are great receivers in Pittsburgh.
Indeed he is. You guys enjoy the rest of the night. Thanks for stopping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Great to see Swanee and Stallworth. The pass to Santonio Holmes gets them down to the 10-yard line, just outside the 10, so it's technically 1st and 10. As Willie Parker takes it to the 6. A lot of woofing going on after plays. The Ravens are a frustrated bunch, been a bad bunch in this half. Pittsburgh knocking on the door, going up 5 TDs. Chris Berman back in the studio. Stuart Scott here in Pittsburgh. Lexus halftime show. Chris will have his fastest 3 minutes. And Mr. Kornheiser and Mr. Wilbaum will have pardon the interruption from here in Pittsburgh. Got anything good for PTI at the halftime?
Yeah, we're going to see if we believe that the Ravens can stop New England's streak in a couple of weeks. Yeah, stay tuned.
Tough night without their corners. They can get a first down inside the 1. Roethlisberger joins Tom Brady as the quarterbacks to throw 5 touchdown passes in a half this year. That one to Nate Washington, his second, 34-0.
Here's Baltimore's problem. In one half, Ben Roethlisberger has the same amount of touchdown passes that Baltimore has all season long. I'm going to excuse myself and go to the press box. I think every writer has finished his column and is about to leave, so there'll be plenty of free food from me.
Excellent job here. Roethlisberger on the fake, booting out away from the toss. Looked over the middle of the field first, but knows he's got the outside receiver open. Does a terrific job. Hits Wilson for the touchdown.
Reed for the extra point. The Pittsburgh Steelers embarrassing the Baltimore Ravens the way they were embarrassed last year. Four Baltimore turnovers have turned into 4 Pittsburgh touchdowns. The Ravens have never had a first half like this in terms of giving up points since Brian Billick took over this team, now in his 9th year. And a nice return by Musa Smith, former Georgia Bulldog, gives the only bit of life fighting all the way through on Allen Rossum as he's taken out by midfield. Hands exchange up by the face gear. Rossum walking away with guilty shoulders. And the officials are going to really have to do a job of policing this, because the frustrated Ravens have been in conversation after every play.
Mike, I concur with you. This is cheap shot time.
Personal foul, face mask by the kicking team, number 30. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Let's go down to Susie Culver on the Ravens sideline.
Well, Mike, you know those commercials, you want to get away? That's how Steve McNair looked when he came to the sideline after that last interception and their 4th turnover for the Ravens. Earlier in the game, he would at least come over, shake his head, talk to coaches. This last time, he simply looked numb. But that has been the demeanor of the offense and not the defense. Believe it or not, these guys are still very animated. Ed Reed specifically waved cameras and mics away so he could give an impassioned speech to his guys, waving his arms, telling them we can still do this. Terrell Suggs hitting everybody, slapping them on the hands. Despite the score, these guys haven't given up.
Well, especially Reed and Lewis, it fits right into their profile. They have always been like that. You would not expect any professional to give up on a game because everybody has seen the strangest things happen, but especially those guys.
Mike, when all is said and done right now for the Ravens, more is being said than done.
Chance to get on the board here, taking over in Pittsburgh territory at the 33. And McNair gets McGahee, who gets a crease, breaks a tackle, and scores a touchdown. So McGahee scores from 33 yards out to end the shutout and make it 35-6.
Excellent burst by Willis McGahee. Running behind Ben Grubbs, Adam Terry on the right side.
Post-play flag for the after action between the players.
After the touchdown, personal foul, unnecessary roughness by Baltimore, number 87. That's a 15-yard penalty that will be enforced on the kickoff. The touchdown counts.
Demetrius Williams, the wide receiver. And they can't even score without a mistake.
Yeah, Willis McGahee right here. See a really nice job of following Jason Brown, the left guard, as he pulled around. Nice seam. McGahee explodes through the hole, takes it to the end zone. Does a really nice job with the stiff arm on Anthony Smith right there. Smith can't make the tackle. Strong stiff arm. McGahee turns on the Jets, takes it to the house. Ray Lewis, another impassioned speech on the sideline to his defense.
Matt Stover on for the extra point for the sake of the family of Demetrius Williams. As Ron was doing the replay, Ed Hockley, the referee, came out and corrected. It was 37, LaRon McClain, who was called for that personal foul flag, not Williams. Those of you just tuning in here at the top of the hour and seeing the score, it is a shocker. Here's the reason why. Roethlisberger has taken advantage of the Baltimore mistakes and delivered touchdown passes to Heath Miller, then to Santonio Holmes for the first time from 15 yards. And Nate Washington really keeping plays alive against this Raven defense. Out of the pocket to Holmes at 35 yards. And then tying the NFL high for a first half this year with Tom Brady, who did it against Miami. A 5th touchdown pass in the half to Nate Washington, tying the franchise record of 5 in a game held by Terry Bradshaw and Mark Malone.
Mike, and the key thing, and you said it right there, was the ability to extend the play, movement in the pocket. Look at that quarterback rating, 155. He's allowed his receivers to uncover. He's allowed them to work those inexperienced corners of Corey Ivy and Derek Martin on the outside. Santonio Holmes has been fantastic, but got to put it all on Big Ben's shoulder. He has been absolutely phenomenal here in the first half. Well, the Ravens showed a bit of life on that drive. I still believe I would like to be a fly on the wall in that Ravens locker room at halftime.
The flag takes the kickoff back to the 15. Reese Lloyd kicked it. Alan Rossum out of Notre Dame returns. And he's submarined at the 45-yard line. Well, it's been an emotional time for Ben Roethlisberger. Terry Hepner was his college coach at Miami of Ohio. Took Miami of Ohio to great success. Hepner passed away this past summer, and a poem that Hepner always read to his Miami of Ohio teams is up on Ben's locker at the Steelers facility. Just some of the lines that jump out from For life is strange with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. About the same time that Roethlisberger had the motorcycle accident 16 months ago, Hepner was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He had just taken the head coaching job at Indiana, going to the Big Ten. That one opportunity to end his career in a major conference. Had success early on in Indiana. Did return to the team after the brain tumor, but succumbed later this summer because of cancer related to the brain tumor. Terrell Suggs with the sack on Roethlisberger. Clock is stopped, and let's go down to Michelle.
Well, Mike, yesterday I spoke with Coach Hepner's widow, Jane Hepner, and she told me that she felt blessed to have witnessed the relationship between her husband and Ben Roethlisberger. She said it was really something. And she wasn't really surprised that Roethlisberger dedicated this season to Coach Hep. She said, I think Ben's outlook is different than ever before because he's coming off this emotional offseason, and she thinks Ben is playing better because of a changed outlook due to that emotional offseason. She told me, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing of Ben on the field because I just love him so much. Mike?
They were very close. Players and coaches are always close in college, especially when it's a quarterback and it's a successful player. But I was around that Miami of Ohio team a lot in that year that Roethlisberger helped lead him to a great season, and their relationship was unique and special. And Susie was backstage at the draft, if you remember. Terry Hepner's sitting at Roethlisberger's table, and his teams passed Roethlisberger in that first round before pick 11. Hepner visibly angry, banging the table in his frustration. Najee Davenport runs, and after the loss of 9 yards, Davenport is brought down inbounds, so the Ravens are forced to stop it. With the ball at the 39-yard line, we'll have third and about 16 coming up. And so often, Ron, we talk about players and the XO aspect of it, of their maturity. And for Roethlisberger, the motorcycle accident that Tony alluded to, and all the tough times last year, I got the sense from Ben of a guy who, I guess, had his life jolted by everything around him, not just to him personally, but also to somebody so close, his mentor like Hepner. And it seems to be a refocusing moment for him toward this season, and he's performed that way on the field.
Oh, I agree. And things came very fast for Ben Roethlisberger that rookie year, hoisting the Vince Lombardi Trophy as a Super Bowl champion. You know, and now you can see the maturity in Ben Roethlisberger. He understands this is now his team. You know, he told us on Saturday a lot of things went on that rookie season, winning the Super Bowl, he was unaware of. Now he's aware of his environment and what's happening around him.
Ravens try to make a stop here on 3rd and 16 in the gut of Davenport. Eludes the Suggs tackle. Tripped up in the secondary by Ronnie Prude, who's coming in defensive back. And we'll have 4th down coming up. Two Ravens are injured on the play. David Pittman was down near the tackle spot. And Ed Reed shaken up as well. They're away from each other. Both are down and being looked at by the Ravens medical team.
And a team that is very thin in the secondary right now with David Pittman down and Ed Reed. You wonder who they can line up.
Yeah.
I've had to go down my list here of my nickel and dime personnel in that secondary for the Ravens, and it's been a while. Who goes on the field?
They have 8 DBs dressed. Reed is woozy, and Hines Ward, who has been picking off Ravens DBs all night, able to do it here to Ed Reed, and that's what had Reed woozy and shaken up. Timeout. A very woozy Ed Reed being looked at on the bench. It's 4th and a couple for the Ravens, for the Steelers, and Sepulveda will kick it away. David Pittman was also helped off with assistance. Rory Ivy goes back for the Sepulveda punt. That goes out of bounds, and the Ravens out of timeouts without a chance to move the ball down the field from the 26-yard line. Tomorrow night, live from Boston, Jadon Codrington and Sakio Bika. 10-round showdown. Who will be the champion of the contender? The season finale live from Boston. Codrington, Bika on ESPN 9 Eastern tomorrow. It's been a great year of the contender, and that wraps up tomorrow.
If this was a fight tonight, it would be a TKO. The Ravens would be knocked out.
No timeouts, 53 seconds left. The Ravens just try to get in position to get something else on the board. McNair's pass through the hands of Mark Clayton and incomplete.
Well, we've been talking about the short, quick passing game of the Ravens, and it's surprising me they come out here and they've got a long way to go. At a long field, they throw a 5-yard pass. Just not going to move the ball down the field. They're going to have to take their shots. Think protection first, run a couple 2-receiver routes, and throw the ball down the field. Give McNair a little bit of time. And I know McNair would love to have that guy, Todd Heap, who's out for tonight's game, an outstanding tight end.
Game 8 of the season, essentially missing his 4th. The pressure on McNair brought down the James Harrison show. Continues. He had to share that with Clark Higgins. Oh. It might be only a half sack for him there. Harrison has been a superstar tonight.
Once again, Harrison coming around the outside. He's being blocked by Jonathan Ogden. Jonathan Ogden can't even hold him back. One of the best tackles in the National Football League. Harrison is having his way here in the first half. It is a human highlight film.
They'll share the sack, half a sack apiece for Harrison and Higgins. To go with all of his tackles and forced fumbles. Movement.
False start, offense number 78. That foul also requires a 10-second runoff. The half is over.
No timeout, so when you have a motion pre-snap flag inside of 10 seconds, it runs off 10. And the half mercifully ends for the Ravens, who get the ball first, trailing 35-7, as we send it to Chris Berman for the Lexus Halftime Show.
All right, Michael, thank you. What a fitting way to end that half. 75th anniversary celebration for the Steelers. Pretty good. And the Steelers saying to everybody that says the AFC is Patriots, Colts, hey, wait a minute, what about me? And it looks as if tonight, barring a miracle, quote the Ravens, nevermore. But yesterday, requiem for a pair of heavyweights, undefeated New England and undefeated Indianapolis, who wore their championship ring into the belt, their belt into the ring. Duh. It was as much an anticipated regular season showdown as we've seen in a long time. Who knew that the first Sunday in November would also include a pair of records set in another dome? We begin our fastest 3 minutes with Super Bowl 41.5. Patriots, veterans, Teddy Bruschi, company, fired up. Peyton Manning, Colts, saying we've won 12 straight. Defense, Colts early, laid the lumber on New England. And late in the first half, little dump pass from Peyton Manning to Joseph Live and Let It Die. What? Down the sidelines. 73 yards when he makes a move here. The Colts leading at half 13-7. Patriots down 10 minutes to go. Tom Brady, Randy Moss, 55 yards. Peyton knows trouble. Brady, Wes Welker, touchdown, 20-17. The Crafts, another down by 3. Brady, Kevin Falk, reliable, 13 yards, 24-20 the Patriots. And then Jarvis Green, fumble. Roosevelt Colvin picks it up, and the Patriots win it 24-20. Records, we had platinum records in Minnesota. Ryan Longwell, field goal at the end of the half. Antonio Cromartie somehow saves the ball from going out and is just in bounds. And now, the longest return, the longest play for score in the history of the NFL. He could go all the way, 109 yards, an NFL record. The rushing record was owned by Jim Brown, 237 yards in 2 separate games. Then in the 60s, the Bills' Cookie Gilchrist, and the 70s, the Rams' Willie Ellison set marks. O.J. Simpson twice had the mark. Walter Payton had the mark. Corey Dillon in 2000. Jamal Lewis of the Ravens, 295 yards in 2003. On the phone, hearing, you might not have it anymore. Adrian Peterson, just his 8th game as a pro. 64 yards for the Vikings against the Chargers. Peterson ran for 253 yards in the second half. Up the middle, outside a tackle, and then whoop, goes outside. 46 yards, 296 yards. A new single-game NFL record. Congrats. We almost had the longest field goal ever from 64, Sebastian Janikowski. Doink! It would have been good from 72, but the record of 63 stands. NFC heavyweights, Dallas. Tony Romo to Terrell Owens shoot up the Philadelphia Eagles. Big game for both. And the headless horseman, Jason Witten. Cowboys roll 38-17, improved to 7-1. Once again, it was Brett Favre to Greg Jennings at another AFC West foe. Beat the Chiefs 33-20 to the back, 7-1. But how about those Detroit Lions? Big Shawn Rodgers evoking memories of Barry Sanders for the Lions. Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, stiff-arming his way to the end zone. Lions roll the Broncos. They are 6-2. First half, all Steelers, 5 touchdown passes. Big Ben Roethlisberger. First half continues. Stu and PTI in 30 seconds.
This halftime show is presented by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection. Welcome back to the Lexus Halftime Show.
Welcome back to halftime here in Pittsburgh. Some guys around the league had to go see Dr. Yang and McDreamy at Gray's Anatomy with some bumps and bruises after a 44-7 beatdown courtesy Detroit. A little bit of good news for Denver. The MRI reveals quarterback Jay Cutler's left leg is bruised, not broken. Still unclear, though, whether or not he will play Sunday in Kansas City. Elsewhere, Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, he might play this weekend. Johnson carted off the field yesterday in Buffalo after he tried to make a diving catch, but he has nothing more than a sore neck. Ocho Cinco right now second in the NFL in receiving yards. Next week, his 2-6 Bengals go to Baltimore for a division matchup. Yo, a whole lot of banana stuff around the NFL this past weekend. Nobody better to talk about it than our PTI guys.
Time for the petite version of PTI.
Speak for yourself, little guy.
All right, Wilbon, the Patriots need 7 more wins to run the table, and both of the teams playing here tonight are on their schedule. Do you see either the Ravens or the Steelers beating the Patriots?
Well, I think I'm safe in saying the Ravens have been eliminated from this discussion with the first half they put in. Tony, you know I've told you all along, people are overlooking the Steelers. They know how to hit somebody in the mouth, and they have enough offense to contend, even with the Patriots. We saw what good defense did, at least held the Patriots in check yesterday.
Right.
The Steelers can do that.
Yeah, now you know that I don't think anybody is going to beat the Patriots until maybe the playoffs. But what you like about the Steelers, that game is in New England. Clearly the Steelers can play in weather. They've got no problem doing that. And Roethlisberger tonight is in Brady territory with 5 touchdown passes in the first half.
Adrian Peterson, Tony, ran for 296 yards yesterday, and now he has nearly 400 yards more than LaDainian Tomlinson on the season.
Yeah.
Tony, I think Peterson is the best back in the NFL already. Do you?
Well, he certainly was yesterday. I mean, I'm reluctant after just 8 games to say that a rookie, the number 7 pick, is the best back in the NFL. If he's that great, why did 6 teams pass on him? But he's got yardage, and he's got blinding speed.
I just talked to Emmitt Smith, who's an authority on this topic.
Yes, he is.
And he said this guy's done things he's never seen. Also said if he learns how to fall, and if the Vikings get a passing game, the sky's the limit. He could be the best back, Tony, since Emmitt and Barry were in their prime. I think he's already there.
Wow. Navy beat Notre Dame on Saturday to drop the Irish to 1-8. But Charlie Weiss said on Sunday, quote, I'm going to be here a long time, unquote. You agree, Wilbon?
Tony, it depends on how they do against Air Force and Stanford. And, you know, I think if they want...
Are you saying he could go this year?
I'm saying that they're going to start talking buyout, South Bend, $10 million. If he goes 1-10, yes.
He's an alum, and in his first 2 years, and that means something. He's one of theirs. And in his first 2 years, he went to BCS bowl games. No, this year is a pass year.
What have you done for me lately, Tony?
No, not there.
You know what? They get so disappointed.
They gave Jerry Faust 5 years. No.
Tony, they have never gone 1-10.
Not to an alum.
Never. That, by the way, was a bell. We're done.
You're done, baby. I got to keep entertaining America.
Are you American Idol now?
Me and Simon.
Oh, Lord. Hey, the reason why Kornheiser said Ben is in Tom Brady territory, only Roethlisberger and Brady this season have 5 touchdown passes in one half.
This halftime show is presented by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection.
Welcome back, everybody. Just a reminder, tomorrow is Election Day. Why don't you give yourselves a few minutes and get out there and vote? From political picks to football predictions. Did you perfectly predict the first half? Log on to ESPN.com, keyword play caller, to play along in the second half and make your own picks. Second half, 35-7 Pittsburgh. Coming up in a moment.
Halftime tonight here in Pittsburgh. This city celebrating its Steeler greats, meeting like the rivers that come together outside this stadium. Strong, powerful, unique.
Number 75.
Guys like Mean Joe Green, the face of the menacing Steel Curtain. All the players in the all-time team introduced to roaring ovations.
MVP of Super Bowl
Lynn
10,
Swann.
Number 88, Lynn Swann.
He embodied the grace and beauty of the pass receiving we enjoy today. Franco Harris.
Number 32, Franco Harris.
His great style, that immaculate moment, might be a dynasty's lasting image.
And the quarterback of the 8th Division title.
And the leader of it all.
First ballot Pro Football Hall of Fame, number 12, Terry Bradshaw.
From small school, aw shucks kid, to 4-time Super Bowl champ. Jerome Bettis, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Benny Cunningham, Rocky Blyer, Franco Harris, the defensive guys farther down. Some of the Steeler greats, boy, a team photo almost no franchise can match. I said to you, Tony, as we were watching, it was kind of like watching Old Timers Day for the Yankees, because every guy who gets introduced, Hall of Famer, multiple champion. I think of the number of championship rings down on that field as they lined across midfield. What a treat to watch.
Let's not forget that of all the great dynasties in the Super Bowl era, this is the number one, the Steel Curtain teams. And they just amplify those with teams that have come after that. And you know what is amazing about this? People around the country like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They like the fact that they play tough football in a tough city. It's not a New York team, not a Los Angeles team, a Chicago team, a Boston team, no Red Sox Nation situation. This is family-owned. They're tough, they're durable, they have tradition, stability, and continuity. And Mike, you know this, that everywhere you go, you find Steeler fans. They travel well. People like them, and they believe that this is the kind of city where the right kind of football's played.
Oh my gosh, just around town, guys from Canada who had never come to see the Steelers in person from New Brunswick, and you see so many of the faces that are familiar to the folks who are still around this franchise, the hugs, the smiles. It's been a really unique sight, Joss.
And Mike, you know, I think Tony's right. You know, you like these guys. I played against a lot of them. They beat me up pretty good, you know, but I saw them down the field before the game, saw them up here in the press box, and you do genuinely like these guys. They played the game the right way. They represented their community the right way, and they have a great passion for the game, and this city has had such a wonderful history of tradition. It's tremendous.
Absolutely. And these uniforms tonight notwithstanding, the Steelers have had the same uniforms for many years, the same logo for a million years. They're not the Dallas Cowboys, who as many people hate as love. They're not a flashy team. Football's not a flashy sport. They're sort of the bedrock old school circumstance in a sport that really admires that. And I think they're the one organization in the NFL that just about everybody likes, except maybe people from Cleveland.
Yeah, I was just saying, I have a four-letter word for you. It's Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I get that part. But you're always struck by how well they travel and how much people admire their accomplishments.
And respect the way they play as well. And they were dominant in the first half, 35-7. Baltimore will get the ball first to start the third quarter. And Reed kicks to Musa Smith, who takes it from the 6. And Smith takes it to the 25. Here's Susie Colbert on the Ravens sideline. Susie?
Mike, walking in with Brian Billick at halftime, I said to him, Coach, I never ask, what are you going to say to your team at halftime? But what are you going to say to your team at halftime? And he said, I'm going to say, guys, win or lose, what kind of a team do we want to be? Win or lose, what kind of men do we want to be? And I asked him, how are you going to get your quarterback any kind of time at all? And he said, you know, we hadn't given up a sack in 3 previous games, but tonight, 3 sacks. So first and foremost, we have to find a way to protect our quarterback.
And Steve McNair, who's been sacked those 3 times, starts it with a toss to McGahee. Willis going to gain about 2 yards. Michelle Tafoya, life's good on that sideline.
Listen, I said to Mike Tomlin, what on earth do you say to a team when you're up by this kind of score at halftime? And he said, we still haven't done what we set out to do. The more violent team is going to win this game. We have to hit them in the mouth repeatedly. I'm not trying to downplay what we've done, but we still have to be the more violent team. We've had flashy plays. Ben has been great. but we have to be the more violent team, Mike.
That is exactly a refrain of what Tomlin was saying to us on Saturday in terms of setting a tone for his team for tonight. Second down, McNair just checks it down to McGahee. Harrison slips, falls. James, the star of the game, gets up, makes the play. It'll be 3rd and 4.5.
I have one question. Do we just have one hat? Did Susie get the hat, or does Michelle get it? Did she have it in the first half? It was a cool Monday Night Football hat, and we only had one hat there.
Well, there you see the stats for the first half. As one-sided as it was with Pittsburgh's 2 losses to Baltimore last year. 8 penalties, 4 turnovers.
Right there. Revenge game, as we like to say. Yeah.
If you want to know the truth, I lent Susie my hat.
Is that it?
And
Okay.
I want it back.
It's a nice hat.
Cleaned, too, by the way. 3rd and 5.
Polamalu down in the box, on the blitz.
Farrier
Pressure
coming, sack. James Farrier blows in on through McGahee and onto McNair for the sack back at the 21.
You know, Brian Billick could say all he wants. We must protect Steve McNair. McNair must get the ball out of his hands. When you come with an all-out blitz, you must stick that back foot in the ground and get the ball out of your hand. There is no doubt Steve McNair is not seeing the field clearly now.
So this Raven offense that's only mustered 67 yards on 28 plays. Watches Sam Cook punt it again. And from the 30, Rossum eludes 1 tackle, but can't get away from the second one. The special teams bring down by Justin Green, and Roethlisberger and the Steeler offense will take over at their own 29.
ESPN's Monday Night Football is brought to you by DLP. It's amazing. It's the mirrors. GMC, official vehicle of the NFL and proud supporter of those who want it more. Zurich, because change happens. And Men's Warehouse. You're going to like the way you look. Visit tmw.com for the store nearest you.
13th largest city in America. You see in the upper left corner, the Igloo, the arena where the Penguins play. Not too far, just across a couple of the bridges. Over here to Heinz Field. Will he partner with the carry? DeJuan Landry with the tackle. As the Steelers take over here in the 3rd quarter after Ben Roethlisberger's outstanding first half, tying a Steeler record for touchdown passes in a game, and obviously in the half with 5.
It's Brady territory. I think Tom Brady is the one guy this year who's gotten 5 touchdown passes in the league in one half. And anytime your name is in the same sentence as Tom Brady, you're having a good game.
Parker runs to the left. Tackled by Juwan Edwards and Kelly Gregg.
And Ben Roethlisberger did it all, and most of the damage done outside the pocket. Heath Miller touchdown. Beautifully executed skinny post to Santonio Holmes. Again, Ben outside the pocket. Rainbow touchdown pass. Here another strike. Santonio Holmes on a go route. Just long handoffs, accurate throws. You see the throw right there to Nate Washington on the money between the numbers. Big Ben was stroking it in that first half, Tony. Got you excited.
10 Ravens at the line of scrimmage. Now a couple drop back on 3rd and 4. And Roethlisberger double clutches before he gets it to Heath Miller. DeJuan Landry brings him down. And the Ravens defense with a 3-and-out. Of the 5 touchdowns scored by the Steelers, not one drive started in their own territory. 4 started in Pittsburgh territory, in Baltimore territory. The other one started right at midfield.
One of the things that made the Ravens so good last year, if I'm not mistaken, was their takeaway giveaway ratio. They were plus 17. They were plus 2 going into this game, so now they would be minus 2. And so you can be 13-3 when you're getting the ball back all the time, but you can't be 13-3 when you're giving it away.
I'm glad that University of Binghamton education worked for you.
Binghamton University.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
See Ed Reed from the U back. He came back after taking a hard hit. Penalty marker down after Sepulveda's 51-yard kick, and Reed gets no return out of it. Najee Davenport, another former Cane, made the tackle, and let's check the flag that was thrown. So Anthony Madison was involved. Madison re-signed this week by the Steelers, who cut 2004's second-round pick, Ricardo Coakley. Coakley lost his cornerback spot, didn't perform well on special teams, released this week.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness by the kicking team number 29. During the kick, correction by the receiving team number 29. During the kick, he went out of bounds and blocked the player out of bounds. 15-yard penalty, first down.
On Derek Martin of Baltimore. Saw that penalty a couple of times last week. You can hear in Ed Hochuli's microphone the wind has picked up after the rain that came earlier. It's now getting cool. First feel of winter here in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh leading by 28. Scored the first 35 of the game. Ravens scored the back end of the first half. Willis McGahee tries to turn the corner on Ike Taylor. Brought down by Polamalu. Speaking of defensive backs in Steeler history, to Michelle Tafoya.
Yeah, when you think of the steel curtain, Mike, you think of guys like Lambert, and you think of Mean Joe Green, you think of Jack Hammond, you think of Mel Blount. Mel, it's nice to see you. What do you make of the defensive performance you're seeing by the Steelers tonight?
Pretty impressive. It's good to see. I think they're just carrying on the tradition of Steeler defense.
Well, James Harrison is having quite a night. Would you have expected this coming in?
Well, I knew they would play well. James Harrison, he's always been a great player, and we got great linebackers and great talent on defense, so I think we can play with anybody in the National Football League on defense.
You said something to me a little bit earlier about the offensive performance you're seeing by the Ravens, though. This is a little bit surprising. Granted, the defense of the Steelers has been very, very good, but what do you make of this offense?
Well, I tell you what, it's kind of embarrassing to think that you're in the professional leagues and you can't perform any better than that. Granted, the Steelers are a tough defense, but it's pretty pathetic.
You played cornerback in the NFL, and because of your physical style of play, a lot of the rules changed. And now it seems that safeties are really the more physical players in the defensive backfield. Guys like Troy Polamalu, Bob Sanders, Ed Reed. What do you think of today's defensive backfields and who really has the control back there?
Well, I think we have great athletes in the secondary throughout the National Football League. I always kid guys and say that's where your great athletes are, but you're right. We believe right now that safety play in the NFL is very important because those guys have to be able to read and see what's happening, and they have to be able to come up and make plays, and we got a great player here in Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, indeed you do. Hey, it's nice to visit with you. Thanks for stopping.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you, Michelle. Hall of Famer Mel Blount there. Clark Hagan's injured on this play as he was upended on the block by Willis McGahee. First down picked up by McNair to Sipnewski. Timeout. Steeler medical staff helped Clark Hagan slowly walk off the field after that somersault. It's first down for Baltimore at the 22. Harrison picked up by Laurent McClain. McGahee, who made the block on Hagan's, takes it to the 26. You always talk about what are running back gains. How about this blitz pickup? Whoa, upending Hagan's. When you talk about the violence of the game, watch this here.
Hagan's attacking Steve McNair.
The last person I saw do that was Kerry Strug in the Olympics. Flipped quite like that.
And that's a lot of forward energy. 6'4", 243 pounds.
Right. She weighs 60 pounds. Yeah. He weighs a lot more.
They continue to look at Hagan's on the bench. McNair's pass is incomplete to Willis McGahee. Even that pass that McGahee picked up the blitz, McGahee got the block. McNair could barely get it out to the tight end. He's really struggling throwing the ball around.
He is struggling. There's no zip in his football. His longest completion night is 8 yards. He's had 7 surgeries in his career: a knee, a lower back, a big toe, a shoulder twice, an ankle, a sternum. The core of his body is beat up. The ball is not coming out with any velocity. You can't keep running Steve McNair out there if he can't get the ball down the field.
McNair missed the last 2 games because of the groin injury that he suffered. First play of the season against Cincinnati. Second play, I beg your pardon. Pass incomplete behind Demetrius Williams, and Baltimore will punch it away.
So at what point, since Kyle Boller was a first-round draft choice of yours a few years ago, and he signed for an extra year, at what point does Brian Billick say to McNair, it's not your night, kid, and we're bringing in Bowler.
You should have done it already, in my opinion. You know,
Right.
You've got it. You're down 35-7 in this game. If you have a chance to come back, you can't be a check down quarterback. You got to think touchdown, check down, not check down, check down, check down. He's not looking downfield for plays.
Cook with the kick. It got caught up in this increasing wind. It's only going to be a 30-yarder and downed by Juwan Landry. Really hard wind coming left to right now here in Pittsburgh. There is Dan Rooney, chairman of the Steelers, 51st year, president of the organization from life. It's been part of the family business going back to the chief, his dad, Art, founder of the Steelers, who died in 1988 at age 87. Both Hall of Famers. Najee Davenport, the first down run, gains about 5 yards. And because of Mr. Rooney, the Rooney Rule went into effect in the National Football League. That was to promote minority hirings for head coaching jobs and making it mandatory for NFL teams to have a minority candidate as an interview in the process when a job opens up. And after a couple of interviews, Mike Tomlin was brought in for the interview with Pittsburgh, and many thought that that would be just satisfying the Rooney Rule. And in the irony of all ironies, the Rooneys were blown away by Mike Tomlin in the interview process. And after 1 year as a coordinator with Minnesota, Tomlin at age 35 takes over the Steelers' job. Davenport runs right, loses 2, maybe 3. It'll be 3rd and 8 coming up.
It fits the pattern of the Steelers' history. Chuck Noll, I believe, was 37 when he was given a job, had been a defensive coach. Becomes the head coach of the Steelers, stays for 100 years. Bill Cowher was 34 when he got the job here, stayed for 15 years, defensive assistant. Mike Tomlin was actually 34 when he was hired, and he's 35 now. So while it seemed like an odd choice because Mike Tomlin comes in out of nowhere, he actually appears to be cut from the same bolt of cloth as all those other guys. But he also walks in to a great job as a first-year head coach. Great job.
Team that won the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, 3rd and 7. Roethlisberger was the quarterback. Puts this one up. Santonio Holmes makes a man miss, and Holmes goes to the 9-yard line. The ball comes out. Roethlisberger might be shaken up on the play as he's down by the sideline. As the ball came out, let's see what the ruling is on the field. I think it's a catch and the ball's down there. But back to Roethlisberger, who, as he rolled out, took a shot on that 45-yard gain and is down on the sideline.
You'll see Ben once again extending the play. Terrell Suggs come up and pushes him to the sideline.
And that's that right arm extended as he slides down. So as they look at Roethlisberger, the Steelers quarterback who's thrown 5 touchdown passes tonight, shaken up. Timeout. Charlie Batch, Pittsburgh native, getting set to come in. Some concerned Steelers around their quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger is now sitting up. Let's take you to the play. Real speed. You'll see Terrell Suggs come in, beat Willie Colon. Nothing dirty about the play. And then as Roethlisberger goes down, reaching from the back and hip area on down, and nothing that looks very obvious there. And now Roethlisberger getting up and very, very gingerly being assisted toward the bench of the Steelers. You certainly never know until an MRI is done. There's further exam, but certainly that does not look good right out of the gate on what looked to be a relatively innocent play relative to the violence of this game.
A 35-7 game, you really don't like to see your quarterback go down. I never like to see anybody go down, but
he's having the greatest game of his career, not counting the Super Bowl where he was the victorious quarterback, but in terms of statistics, 5 touchdown passes in the first half, greatest game of his career. See him walk off like that. I said the karma had changed. We hope it doesn't revert back.
The Steelers won the Super Bowl, but it was probably one of the worst games of his career.
Najee Davenport with the carry from Charlie Batch at the 5. And it's 35-7 with 21 minutes left. And so many people have postulated when the Patriots have gotten up big, well, why is Brady in the game late in the fourth quarter, et cetera, et cetera. Here we are in the middle of the third quarter. So he's certainly going to leave your starting quarterback in at this point.
That's unquestioned right now.
Also, if you, on the replay, which we've now seen 12 times in this booth, it looks fairly benign.
Right.
I mean, it looks like It's not a dirty play by any stretch of imagination. He looks to have fallen on his knee first and not even his hip. Sort of surprised that he grabbed at his hip.
Suggs, who was involved in the Roethlisberger play, goes out holding his knee after that play. So Batch, who grew up 10 minutes from the stadium here, on play action, throws to the fullback. It is incomplete. Dan Kreider, who has one career rushing touchdown, separated from a second score by Ray Lewis.
Well, it looked like Kreider dropped the ball before Ray Lewis got there. Charlie had a nice play-action fake here as Kreider wide open in the flat. Ray Lewis a little late getting out there. Kreider just dropped the ball. Of course, he's a big old blocking fullback there, and the ball was a little bit behind him. A guy that size, it's pretty hard to turn your hips around at 255 pounds.
Suggs went down on that play before. Remember, he's the one who injured Roethlisberger. It was just a collision. No cheap shot, no dirty stuff on that play when Suggs got hurt a moment ago. 3rd and goal for Batch out of Eastern Michigan in Ypsilanti. Throws it away, and it'll be 4th down. 35-7, I believe the field goal unit is going to come on, as the Steeler medical staff continues to ask Roethlisberger where the pain is as they try to diagnose the injury. Is a tremendous night, and really a night of euphoria here in the stadium with the celebration of 75 years of Steeler football, the Hall of Fame champion greats on the field, the big night for the team against a rival who beat them bad last year, and immediately a bucket of cold water thrown on it all. Reed from 22. With the tough wind conditions this end of the field, knocks it in. It's 38-7, and Reed, the kicker, comes right at one of the Ravens. Trevor Price, I believe. You rarely see a kicker knock it through, and Reed's a tough guy. Rarely see a kicker and then go challenge a defensive player. Look at this. That's the kind of night the Ravens and Steelers put out. Michelle's down by Roethlisberger. Michelle?
I am, and he's clear-headed enough to be watching the game in the Jumbotron, but I'll tell you that the athletic trainers are looking at everything from his right foot to the outside of his right calf all the way up into his hip. Those seem to be the 3 spots they're looking at. They're having him flex his right foot against some resistance, and yet they're also concerned about some areas in that calf, as I mentioned, and then they keep coming up to the hip as well. So this could be an injury that has several levels to it and a lot of impact, obviously, Mike.
Okay, Michelle, so we'll wait for the Steelers to give us any further medical word, but the observations from down on the sideline, and if you're just clicking over, here's the injury to Roethlisberger about 5 snaps ago.
You know, Ben Roethlisberger is 241 pounds, and he came down on that hip. You can see him grab the hip as soon as he hit the ground. And, you know, a common injury for players, that hip pointer. It's that muscle that kind of rolls right over the hip. And a lot of players, including quarterbacks, do not wear their hip pads. You know, they want to be lighter, and they don't wear their hip pads. And this could be one of those injuries, playing without a hip pad. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell by the shot if Ben wore it or not. But a lot of guys refuse to wear those hip pads, and they sustain injuries.
Moses Smith with a kick return from 7 takes it to the 26. Down 31. Baltimore will take over from there. And what a surprise. After the whistle, pushing and shoving. Perspective in the history of Monday Night Football going back to September of 1970. Most touchdown passes in the game. A very eclectic list. David Craig, Jim Kelly in 91 during the heyday of the K-Gun with the Bills. Vinny Testaverde in that memorable Meadowlands overtime comeback against Miami in 2000. And tonight, Roethlisberger with 5 first-half touchdowns. So as the concern stays there, the oft-injured Ravens quarterback, McNair, back on the field. 3 rush, 8 cover. McGahee. James Harrison, who's had quite a night, continues. And the woofing's got to stop here at some point. Jaws, you were all over this guy from the beginning.
And I told you in our production meeting, this guy flashed. And I look at the coaching statement. Boy, is he flashed tonight right in front of Steve McNair. They're getting a sack, causing the fumble. Here, leaping tall buildings with a single bound. Here, causing another fumble. He is all over the field, dropping into coverage, reading Steve McNair, picking off the ball, taking it down the field. Unbelievable evening by James Harrison. Look at this, 3 forced fumbles, 1 recovery, 2.5 sacks, interception. He's doing everything but putting seed on this turf, which they could use, by the way.
That is a season worth of stats for some players, and he was there along with Clark Higgins to make the play. I mean, for years, these outside linebackers in the 3-4 have to be impact players. Think back to Greg Lloyd over the years, in addition to the man now in Miami, Joey Porter.
And once again, we see James Harrison playing the run beautifully right there, shedding the block. What you have to do when that guard comes out, and there you have Big Ben Grubbs coming around, shedding the block, making a play.
Again, he had to rejoin the team prior to training camp in 04 after a year's absence when Clark Higgins broke his hand. If not for Higgins, who went head over heels a couple of plays ago, breaking his hand a few years ago, Polamalu in the open field takes the big hit on Quinn Sipniewski. And it'll be 4th down.
Yeah, I'm still having a difficult time where the Ravens are throwing the football. They've not thrown a ball more than 20 yards down the field. Everything seems to be less than 5 yards. Watch Polamalu react to the short pass. Once again, makes the tackle. Once again, the Ravens have to punt. You have to be aggressive with your passing game. You're down 38-7. You got to take a shot, Tony.
Polamalu looks like Bob Sanders with hair, basically, at this point, right? The way he blows up plays like that.
An incredible safety play in the National Football League now.
Cook for the kick. Rossum lets it go out of bounds at the 34-yard line. And that's a kick of 34 yards as we go down to Susie Colbert.
Well, Mike, we saw Terrell Suggs get banged up before that last series. It took a little while for him to come over and finally sit down on the bench. He was just rubbing his knee. The trainers put some warming ointment on it, wrapped it up, and then he kind of waved everybody else off. But we knew this was going to be a physical battle before the half. We saw Ed Reed and quarterback David Pittman both get hurt on the same play. Both suffered mild concussions. Ed Reed's much more mild, as we've seen he's back in. But David Pittman, he is out. So on the 3 deep, you have to check the 3rd column now for cornerback for the Ravens.
Ronnie Prude seen some action already. Willie Parker to the left. Ray Lewis brings him down. Parker. Gain of a yard. As Susie was reporting Ravens injuries, you saw Roethlisberger warming up on the Steelers sideline. I would doubt at this point he'd go back in the game, but just for his own sanity to warm up. And it's a much better look than it was 10 minutes ago when he was being assisted off the field.
Mike, the one area of the Ravens that has excelled has been their down 4 and their 3 linebackers and their 2 safeties. They have played well against the run. Their corners have had a rough day in the passing game.
False start here. He'll bring it back. It'll be 2nd and 13. We were talking about Mike Tomlin before.
False start. Offense, the right guard, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Before the injury to Roethlisberger, and Mike Tomlin at 35 with a very confident personality has really fit in very quickly in a very tough job, coach of the Steelers.
There were a lot of people who originally thought that the job would go to Ken Whisenhunt or to Russ Grimm because they were homegrown to some degree. Certainly Russ Grimm, homegrown. Went to school, University of Pittsburgh, and been a coach here for a long time. Whisenhunt took himself out of it, went to Arizona. People thought it would go to Grimm. It was somewhat of a surprise, I think, when Tomlin bubbled up because he'd been a coordinator just for 1 year, and in Minnesota, which had not produced anything of a spectacular nature. Tomlin himself said he thought he's the last guy on earth to become a candidate. After this play, we'll tell you why he was a candidate.
It's a Charlie Batch pass deflected incomplete. The deflection by Bart Scott, the linebacker.
Here's some of the things that Tomlin told us about why he thinks he may have gotten the job, and this is a direct quote. I'm a fundamentalist as opposed to schemes. It's a violent game, and the most violent team wins. I believe in running the ball and stopping the run. That's my philosophy, and it happens to be the historical philosophy of the Steelers. Now, if a guy comes into an interview room and basically lays it out quite like that in the home of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'd say he's got a running start to getting the job. Wouldn't you, Jaws?
I'd say he did his homework very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charlie Batch gives it to Najee Davenport. Davenport's going to gain a couple of yards, and it'll be 4th down. Jared Johnson, you can hear the Ravens defense. They're continuing their attitude and trying to lay a foundation going forward. After tonight, and not give up on 38-7. They've played better here in the 3rd quarter, but again, they haven't had their offense hand the ball to the Ravens at the +40, the +30, the +20, all those possessions in Baltimore territory.
It's like playing on an arena field 50 yards long. I always get my arena plugs.
Yes,
Mike.
you do. Please, say Philadelphia Soul for us, Jaws.
Oh, you just did. Thank you very much.
Sepulveda to kick again. It'll be a 56-yard punt out of bounds at the 10-yard line. Well, we talked about Mike Tomlin's Steeler connection. Follow us along here. Chuck Noll, the legendary coach, the Hall of Fame coach with the Steelers. During Chuck Noll's time here, Tony Dungy was a player and then an assistant coach for the Steelers. And we know Tony's career has gone on to be very successful. It included being the coach in Tampa Bay with that Tampa 2 defense that really has its seeds here in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin became the defensive back coach in Dungy's last year, replacing Herm Edwards when Herm took the Jets job. And here comes Tomlin after the year in Minnesota, 2007. He's the Steeler coach. And how do you wrap the whole thing up? As Tomlin said, the longer I'm here, I realize a lot of my philosophies fit here because there are a lot of Dungy's philosophies. There are a lot of Chuck Noll's philosophies, which is Steeler football. Pass complete, Mark Clayton. Essentially, gain of a yard.
You know, Mike, you spoke about that cover 2 concept that so many teams play now around the National Football League, and we saw here the celebration of the 75 years of the Steelers. That defense was really formed in the mid-70s when Chuck Noll was the head coach, and of course you had the Mel Blunts and the Mike Wagner, outstanding secondary players. They played that cover 2, and Tony Dungy was a player here at that time, so he understood the cover 2 concepts as they were taught by Chuck Noll.
And Mike Tomlin had those in Minnesota. Turned that Viking defense around last year. They became a very stingy run unit, but was smart enough to let Dick LeBeau, who we'll talk about in the fourth quarter, still run the defense. Pressure off the edge. Who else?
Guess who? 92.
James Harrison out of Kent State.
The last time I saw a 92 have a game like this, it was a guy named Reggie White.
James Harrison's fabulous night continues. To the fourth quarter in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Monday Night Football, a night to remember for James Harrison, the fourth-year man out of Kent State, since they started tracking individual sacks in 1982. He's the first player to have a 3.5 sack, interception, and fumble recovery game. And add to that total his 9 tackles, 6 times he's hit the quarterback. Fourth quarter begins. McNair running for his life. Incomplete. They wanted to say he's down in the end zone, safety, or grounding in the end zone, which would be a safety.
Boy, there's no intentional grounding. Fourth down.
Out of the tackle box for the pass that got close to the line of scrimmage is the call that erases grounding. Any grounding in the end zone is a safety.
Well, Steve McNair really had no chance here. An excellent stunt by the Steelers up front. Quick pressure. McNair wasn't able to plant his foot. He just throwing this one away. There's not a receiver to be found. Not quite sure he got outside that tackle box.
Very close. Lined up on the hash marks. McNair was about even with the tight end who was on the hash marks.
The bigger question is, why is he still in the game?
That is a good question.
There's a punt by Cook. Beautiful punt. Wind aided. Rawson at the 38. And Allen Rawson just shy of midfield.
Let's go back to Mike Tomlin for a second, because you can't ignore the great irony here, Mike, that the Rooney Rule exists because of the Rooney family, and it exists to give minority candidates legitimate interviews for head coaching positions. And here comes Mike Tomlin pretty much out of nowhere, and at the place where the Rooney Rule started, Mike Tomlin gets the job. And he's a young man. And a lot of people have gone before him and blazed trails. There have been black coaches like Tony Dungy in particular, who may not have ever felt that the path was completely open to him. And he had to get the job at Tampa Bay and then get the job at Indianapolis to prove it. Mike Tomlin, however, while acknowledging that people have come before him and blazed the trail, Mike Tomlin said that from the time that Tony Dungy, and here's the interesting connection, from the time that Tony Dungy gave him the position coaching job when he was only 28 years old, at that point he never saw his own future limited in any way by race or position or stature or experience or anything. So he came to this job in his mind not as an African-American coach, but as a coach seeking a job, thinking that opportunity was open to him for no other reason than he could coach football.
Makes an interesting decision here, leading by 31. His quarterback dinged up, goes back to Ben Roethlisberger, who hands off there to Parker for a couple of yards, and we'll have third down coming up.
I would question that move. Ben Roethlisberger's had a magnificent night. He had some sort of injury. We have not gotten clarification on what it was. You've got a 38-7 lead with about 13 and a half minutes to go in the fourth quarter. This game well in hand. I would not risk Ben Roethlisberger out in the field. I'd have him with an ice pack on that hip pointer if that's what it is.
So now we have two quarterbacks, so we don't understand why they're in.
One for one reason, one for clearly another one.
Kyle Boller is warming up for Baltimore, and Roethlisberger is sacked. The penalty marker is down as we sort that out, and we all watch to see if Ben gets up. And not only does he get up, but he's helping other people up. Here's Michelle.
The official word on Roethlisberger was a hip injury, and he was questionable.
Holding offense number 74. That penalty is declined. Brings up fourth down.
But, Mike, again, I would tell you that while they were looking at the hip, they were also looking at his lower leg. It's a mystery to me why he has come back in, unless they're just trying to get his feet under him to see if he's okay out there.
Well, 38-7, 31-point game, 13 minutes left. Let's see what they do on the next series. And there is Boller warming up. Sepulveda will kick it away. And the Ravens have the issue of where they're going to be this season to deal with on the trip back to Baltimore and beyond, because they will be asking questions of themselves. It's a team that won 13 games, won the division by 5 games last year. Ed Reed playing possum finds the ground. Return of 6, special teams tackle Arnold Harrison. Punt 43, the net 37.
ESPN's Monday Night Football is brought to you by the 7-passenger Mazda CX-9, winner of the 2008 Motor Trend Sport Utility of the Year. UPS, what can Brown do for you? Mucinex breaks up mucus that causes congestion. Mucinex in, mucus out. And the new NFL.com. Vote for your favorite NFL players for the 2008 Pro Bowl online at NFL.com/Pro Bowl.
Some great images of this Monday night in Pittsburgh. 38-7 Steelers. Kyle Boller's the quarterback. Willis McGahee runs to the 20-yard line, gain of a couple of yards. So Kyle Boller, who at one point was the quarterback of the future, has started 37 times, including 3 times this year, starting against the Jets and St. Louis. And the last game out against Buffalo, he was 21 of 36 in that game. A guy who has survived intense criticism since being the 19th overall pick in the draft in 2003. And signed up for more. Signed up to remain a Raven. And see what happens in the current or post-Steve McNair era. After the gain of 3, Boller. Hey, here's a deep pass. It's overthrown, and it's incomplete. Susie has more on the quarterback.
Yeah, Mike, he told me he did sign up for more. Number one, because he has great relationships with his teammates. Rick Neuheisel has truly helped him to understand the game, and he's also learned a lot from Steve McNair. And anyone can recognize that Steve McNair is nearing the end of his career, and certainly closer to the end than the beginning. But he said, even if he's going to back up Steve again next season, that's okay. He realized that the grass isn't always greener, and if he is going to have a big contract in his future, he still really hopes that it's Baltimore.
Neuheisel is the offensive coordinator in title, although Billick calls the plays. Rick was Troy Aikman's quarterback coach at UCLA, the head coach for 4 years at Colorado and Washington in college football. The Boller pass is incomplete, and 3 and out, they'll kick it away.
It's an odd circumstance for Boller. He was brought in, as you say, to be the quarterback of the future, and he became the quarterback very early. Dissatisfaction with him was such that they went out and got Steve McNair. And so most people, I can't say most people, I was certainly surprised that he opted to stay with the team and not try to play it out and go somewhere else to stay in a backup role. But he's not going to back up for much. If this is Steve McNair,
not much longer.
Right, yeah. He's not going to back up for much longer.
If Steve McNair doesn't have more than he showed us tonight, right, it's going to be Boller's job.
Rossum from the 35, trying to pick up blockers. and he runs a lot to gain a yard. That was Sam Cook's 8th punt. Baltimore has 7 points, 4 first downs, and lots of issues. Which one's the Allegheny? Which one's the Monongahela, guys?
Okay, Tony.
Left is the Allegheny. That's the Monongahela on the right.
Okay.
And the big thing down the middle is the formulation of the Ohio.
Very good.
You sure? Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer, yes. And I don't need to call somebody up for a lifeline. That's what I'm going with.
Wrong.
Oh.
The Allegheny's the one right outside the south end zone. The Monongahela meets it from above, goes to the Ohio.
At least I didn't, say the Mississippi was being formed. I was okay on that.
Well, of course, yesterday the big story was the big game. The Patriots rallying from down 10 inside of 10 minutes, fourth quarter, as Brady used all of the receiving arsenal. The touchdown by Falk, the force out by Jarvis Green, Roosevelt Colvin taking it. And this is the way I greet my guys in the offensive line. We're 9-0, and they will butt heads with the Pittsburgh Steelers later on down the line, the New England Patriots. And after 9-0, those who've been saying they'll be a 16-0, they have a chance to be 16-0. The question becomes, which team has the best chance of knocking off the Patriots? If you want to realistically think of that, as Parker carries for a gain of 2 yards. Here are the 9-0 Patriots, who are off this week. Not a bye week, but it's an off week.
An open week.
And then you get Buffalo on Sunday night in Buffalo, then Philadelphia. Then we will see the Patriots in Baltimore in 3 weeks. Then they play the Steelers at home. 3-game home stretch with the Steelers, the Jets, Dolphins, and then the last game of the season at the Meadowlands against the Giants.
Well, the teams that stand out there clearly are the Steelers and the Giants at that point. I'm one of those people who looks at 16-0 and even 19-0. And Jaws, you laughed at me at the beginning of the year. You're not laughing anymore, are you?
No, I said the turkey has to be in the oven before I start answering those questions. I think it's a bit early.
That pass is caught by Nate Washington for the first down as Charlie Batch is taking this drive over, as we saw, and moves it out to the 47-yard line.
Okay, I will grant you the turkey's not in the oven, but it's being dressed. And the oven has been turned on at this point. Now, the Steelers, off a night like tonight, of course, look like a team that might be able to beat the Patriots. And even though the game is in New England, it's not like the Steelers can't play in inclement weather, as they've proven tonight, and they've proven for many, many years.
Well, the question off of that is, looking at those teams, Ron, what team has a profile that can give New England the offensive trouble that Indianapolis's defense provided yesterday?
Oh, I think clearly it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Ben Roethlisberger's ability to make plays outside the pocket, their outstanding defense that can pressure Tom Brady. They can break down the pass protection schemes of the Patriots because of their design, their scheme. They can get defenders free at Brady without having to bring more than they can block. In other words, they can keep a safety in center field. So if you beat the blitz, you don't give up a home run. You give up a 10-yard play. That's what the Steelers can do to Tom Brady and all his weapons.
And they can score.
And they
for example, the Baltimore Ravens coming into tonight, you would have thought could have done that on defense, but they didn't have the ability to score.
And they can do that on defense. I agree. Yeah. The thing that bothers me about the Steelers is they lost 2 games to teams that they were better than, the Denver Broncos and these Arizona Cardinals. So at this point, there's something about their character, their makeup, that bothers me that they lost those 2 games.
Najee Davenport tackled by Ed Reed, who's still in the game, and a loss of 6 on the play. We'll have third down coming up. Let me spin this for a second, Ron, to Indianapolis and their defense. What did you see from the Colts defense that gives you, I would say, a reason to believe they could win in New England if those 2 teams meet in the AFC Championship game?
Once again, their overall team speed. Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, able to get pressure off the corner. I think the way that they play, Marlon Jackson played, the way Hayden played was terrific. They played box defenders. They played a lot of nickel and dime coverage. They brought corners down the box, and they defended very well. So I think they can create problems for New England on offense.
Trevor Price, unabated to the quarterback, will take it to the 45.
Were you not, however?
Encroachment defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty, it's third down.
Were you not incredibly impressed in the fourth quarter the way Tom Brady dissected Indianapolis? And now you move a team that's very fast and very quick from indoors, where that works better, to outdoors in the playoffs. Is that not a significant disadvantage for Indianapolis that it wouldn't be for Pittsburgh?
Well, you know, you're almost flipping the script the way it was in the past then, because now you have the explosive team in New England. It used to be, you know, the other way around. But I think that when I look at that Colts defense, I thought they wore out in that fourth quarter because those corners were taking people on, and actually the big plays came when they attacked the safeties deep. So that's where the big plays came. I think their corners wore out. They gave the receivers free access, and all of a sudden you had the big
batch down the seam, intercepted by Ed Reed, who was spun down at the 40-yard line. On the tackle by the tight end, Heath Miller. So Charlie Batch, who had not thrown any passes before tonight this season, throws his 42nd career interception. Reed returns at 24. Ravens ball at the 38. Kyle Boller and the Ravens take over at the 38 after the Ed Reed interception. And here is penalty number 11 on Baltimore.
False start, offense, number 73, 5-yard penalty. It's still first down.
Ed Reed on the pick.
Very versatile safety. Does an outstanding job here. You'll see Ed right there. I'm going to miss the big circle on him. He's in that deep half defender. He reads the tight end going down the middle, and an outstanding reaction. He has to play the outside receiver, still look back to the inside. Great ball skills. When the ball's in the air, he reacts very well.
Reed, Polamalu in this game. Bob Sanders discussing from the Indianapolis game what that position has meant in this league over the last couple of years as the pass is caught by Quinn Sipniewski, and the Ravens will go without a huddle with 7:15 to go. Reed, who left the game earlier with a concussion. And the one thing I take away from this game is that intense pride of the Baltimore defense that is often talked about, and sometimes will get under other people's skin because they're a very talkative group. Pass in and out of the hands and incomplete as Boller was hit by James Farrier, and McGahee is shaken up. McGahee back there trying to pick up the pressure. So as they look at the star back for the Ravens Sports Center 30-30 update with John Butchergross. John?
Thank you very much, Michael. The Boston Herald reports that Curt Schilling and the Boston Red Sox appear close to a one-year incentive-laden deal to come back to Boston and pitch in 2008. Schilling had said he would take a one-year deal to stay in Boston. NFL news, the Cowboys, they have activated Tank Johnson. And Wade Phillips says that he is added to the roster. He will play against the Giants. Sports Center after the game with Scott Van Pelt and Kenny Mayne. I'll see you at 2 a.m.
Thanks, John. Johnson ending that 8-game suspension. What happened to McGahee? He's still down once again, trying to pick up pressure. And once again, it's Clark Higgins. And McGahee takes the shot, goes down. Ravens medical staff looking at him. We take timeout. Pittsburgh will move to 6-2. Baltimore to 4-4. That means the Cleveland Browns will be in second place halfway through the AFC North season.
Give the Browns some props now. They are explosive on the offensive side of the football.
Boller brought down again. Travis Kerskey. His 4th year as a Steeler, 11th year in the league. Gets Pittsburgh's 6th sack. And Steve McNair here on the night is not a number to be proud of. Assuming he is done for the night, 13 completions for 63 yards would be the fewest yards in the history of the league for someone who's had a game with 13 or more completions. And that just fits the profile that even at the ×10 level of the short passing game is all the passing game right now for the Ravens. Flag down, Rossum returning to the 39-yard line. The Ravens, if you add their points and first downs, it equals their number of penalties, 11. Prescott Burgess out of Michigan shaken up in coverage.
Well, the Ravens were averaging 8.1 coming into the game. That was the second most penalties in the league.
This team will be 4-4, and here's what they will have left. And you talk about a gauntlet. Look at that after the Ohio double dip, hosting Cincinnati and Cleveland. At San Diego, and the Chargers have been a disappointment. New England at home. Indianapolis at home.
Miami looks good. And then Seattle by then probably be a pretty good team. And then once with the Steelers to finish up. Look, here's what they did in the first half of the season. They have 4 wins over teams that have a total combined record of 6-27. The Jets, Arizona, San Francisco, and St. Louis. They did not beat Buffalo. They did not beat Cleveland. They did not beat Cincinnati. They squandered the easy half of their schedule. They were a 13-3 team last year. Now that begins to look like a mirage as they are a 4-4 team facing a schedule 3 times as hard, right, as the first half.
Yep.
3 times as hard. So.
Flag was on the Steelers for blocking as the guy was out of bounds, not letting him back in. It's going to move the ball back to the 10. Burgess is being helped off the field. McGahee walked off with the assistance of the training staff after he absorbed the block with the blitz a couple of plays ago.
I was going to say, they have injuries all over the field on offense and on defense. They have a quarterback who has slowed down enormously, who is prone to injury himself. And they have everybody who apparently has a radio show yelling at each other through the radio airwaves. Players at coaches, coaches at players. At the moment, they appear to be close to dysfunctional physically as a team, right? I mean, with all the injuries they've got.
But, you know, Coach Billick, Ray Lewis, they didn't seem to mind that they were, you know, airing out their laundry on a radio show. Can't you talk?
You know, Mike and I do radio, and maybe we'll talk to each other through the radio during the summer months.
Carey Davis out of Illinois with the carry. He has 6 carries thus far this year. And you're referring to Ray Lewis in the conversation back and forth.
After the
Brian
last
Billick.
game, he called his. He said, Billick has to ask himself, why do we keep putting ourselves in this situation? Ray Lewis was criticizing Brian Billick's play calls. Thought he passed the ball much too much. 1st and goal, 2nd goal, 3rd and goal when he had Willis McGahee for $40 million. And Brian Billick came back and said, do you really want to do this in public? Do you think this is a smart thing to do?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is, obviously.
I think that was rhetorical.
I don't think it is, so.
Davis tried to get to the edge. Bart Scott made the tackle. Another penalty marker down.
You know, now Brian Billick can call out every single player that makes a mistake in the course of the game. You know, that serves no purpose whatsoever.
Holding, offense number 83. Half the distance to the goal, repeat 2nd down.
Well, if McNair doesn't come back in, we have 1 NFL record. We might have another. You know, there has been 1 rushing first down picked up tonight. Pittsburgh has no rushing first downs. Baltimore has 1, and that came on the touchdown run by McGahee. When you get a touchdown, you are credited with a first down statistically. The record for 2 teams, fewest rushing first downs in the game is 1. So
we would tie that record.
Yeah, it's been done twice in league history. So if you really want something to root for the next 520, if you're a fan of the rushing touchdown combined stat,
Steve Hurt, our guy down in the truck, is like going crazy finding this stuff.
Davis with the carry.
Considering that when we started this game, it was in a monsoon, and everybody predicted all they would do was run. Both teams, they will do nothing but run and defend the run. There are no rushing yards in the whole game.
You know, I want to ask you guys something about what Baltimore's done here, because in the second half, their defense has been pretty good. And the first half, they had a lot of bad field position and gave up the big plays because they are without both starting cornerbacks. Jaws, we have a timeout taken by Ed Hockley here as a player was being taken out by Pittsburgh. Can you, in the pros, when you're getting your doors blown off, set a tone in a second half like this that can have some carryover impact to next week or the second half of the season?
There's no such thing as moral victories. The game was 35-7 at the half. They did get their doors blown off. They were an awful football team. They embarrassed themselves with that first half performance. What they do in the second half, I believe, really is irrelevant.
Najee Davenport runs.
There goes that record.
For those of you who were waiting, and another player is down for the Ravens. And they're grabbing at his leg. I think it's Justin Bannon, the defensive line. This has been an extraordinarily physical, after every play, somebody yelling at somebody, hitting somebody type game. And it goes back to the 58-7 toll Baltimore enacted on Pittsburgh last year. And we know it's a violent and a physical game, but these two teams, it's in their pedigree from Hines Ward on through the blitz pickups to what the Steelers have done with Polamalu in the open field, and the night that James Harrison has had. It's been a night of big hits, and that was the scary one about 45 minutes ago when Ben Roethlisberger was knocked down by Terrell Suggs, left the game but did come back him. And while we have a second, Susie has an injury update on Willis McGahee.
Well, you know, Mike, one of the things that the Ravens really pleasantly surprised about McGahee was just how physical he is. And he's just as proud of his pass blocking as he is of running the ball. And, of course, we saw him get hurt on a pass block play. Though McGahee suffered a concussion, needless to say. He is done for the night. But, you know, it's just a shame for so many of these guys who are so fired up to play this game, to match physicalness with the Steelers. He really felt like this being the 75th anniversary, that it was almost like they were setting them up for homecoming. And I guess in a sense, this way the score is, it sort of seems that way.
The old college practice of invite somebody for homecoming you know you're going to beat. Of course, the Ravens are the old Cleveland Browns. Remember when this franchise moved 12 years ago, left in February of 96, left the Browns' name, color, and history for the new Cleveland Browns to take over as an expansion team when they moved to Baltimore. Davenport cuts back, and if you've ever been around Pittsburgh, you know that the Browns-Steelers rivalry is just extraordinary dislike from people like this. These loyal fans all the way through the teams, and historically, we were doing our ESPN radio show over at Jerome Bettis' restaurant today, and a guy said to me, he said, you know why I hate the Ravens as a Steeler fan? Because they're the old Browns. So I like that they moved because I have two sets of teams to hate, the old Browns and the current Browns. Steeler pride.
But, you know, I mean, the Ravens almost had no chance when the Steelers ran out that 75th anniversary team. I mean, this place was rocking. I mean, these fans were into it, and I'm sure the Steelers got some energy from seeing, you know, those players that they recognized for so many years and idolized.
The game set up. Everybody knows how both these. Everybody knows how these teams play. Oh my gosh, that guy looks like he wandered in from Oakland, doesn't he? Bart Scott said this to us the other day, Bart Scott of the Ravens. Whenever you play the Pittsburgh Steelers, it has nothing to do with schemes. It has to do with physicality. Who can deal with who the longest and who's going to tap out? Well, it looks like the Ravens tapped out at this point. But the game, in terms of the Ravens playing tough defense in the second half, this is who they are. That's their identity. The Steelers' identity is exactly the same as the Ravens' identity. The Steelers were just 5 times as good tonight.
Come on, Tony, the Steelers pulled the plug in the second half.
That's what I'm saying.
35 and a half.
But I'm saying they're just 5 times as good tonight, but it's the same team, essentially.
2-minute warning in Pittsburgh. On a night, the Steelers honored the past and dominated the present. Back in Pittsburgh, see PNC Park, where the Pirates will have a new manager. John Russell was named their manager today.
They playing tonight?
No,
it's all lit up.
No. I guess they didn't get the green memo. I do want to point out, by the way, that I'm going to take all of tonight's game notes and put them in our blue recycling bin. Monday night also is green and recycles. Sepulveda to kick it away. Yeah, we're blue. That's right.
We're also tired.
55-yard punt with no return.
Once you look at the sea of empty seats, the mustard-colored seats at Heinz Field, it's a sea of mustard in a stadium built by ketchup. No laughs?
Wow.
Nothing? Come on now. That's my line.
We waited all night for that?
I waited all night for that. I got that. I want to tell you the truth. I got that from management at ESPN. I I felt obligated to use it.
Management gave you that line?
I liked it a lot until I just saw Chirico's face as he couldn't get further away from me.
It was good.
Wait, who gave
Thanks
you
so
that?
much.
Who from management gave you that?
Oh, no, my lips are sealed on that.
I hope.
I guess I'll take it myself.
Steelers host Cleveland, visit the Jets their next couple of games. Pittsburgh's going to move to 6-2. The bowler pass is complete. And fighting for yards is Mason. Derek to the 28-yard line. You know, guys, on this night of honoring the 75 years of the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's a franchise mark that the 12-year-old Ravens franchise has in its sights that they'd like to avoid on this garbage time drive. Fewest yards in franchise history. Pass complete to Mark Clayton.
Well, they're picking up about 3 at a time, Mike.
Sports Center coming up. GMC Monday Night Football postgame. Steve Young, Emmitt Smith, Stewart, and Scott here to break it down. Adrian Peterson, the rookie sensation, over 1,000 yards in his performance against San Diego, and the record-setting Sunday put a cap on Week 9. Those historic plays, including one that will last forever unless we go to the CFL rules. The longest touchdown in the history of the National Football League, 109-plus by Antonio Cromartie of San Diego, the field goal miss return. Low pass is incomplete. Low second down coming up. So here are the numbers on the Ravens side. The franchise lows, equaling it with first downs to the moment, within 20 yards of the total yards. And that last completion took them over the franchise low for passing yards. So this is a ultimate night to forget for the Ravens. And we talked all about the 75th anniversary, Jaws, of the Steelers and all the great players who were here. We'd be remiss if we did not mention the man who was not here tonight but was honored a couple of weeks ago here at Heinz Field. That's Chuck Noll, the Hall of Fame coach, the architect from the coaching standpoint of those 4 Super Bowl championships. As Mike Tomlin followed Bill Cowher, who followed the great Chuck Noll, winning Super Bowls 9, 10, 13, and 14, 209 wins. In his drafts, 9 players that are now Hall of Famers, and he was enshrined in Canton in 1993. We mentioned earlier the chief, Art Rooney, and Dan, who's now the chairman, his 51st year of the organization, and cannot forget Chuck Noll as well.
You see a shot of Mike Tomlin. These are very, very large shoes to fill. Cowher following Noll. Cowher 6 times to the AFC Championship game, twice to the Super Bowl, and won one of them. Right, Noll 4 Super Bowls. Tomlin 3rd in line. I mean, if you stay here long enough, maybe you can come close to both of those guys, but you have to stay a long time. Enormous shoes for Mike Tomlin to fill.
You know, it's interesting, Tony. Earlier you talked about, you know, Mike Tomlin being under the radar, and conventional wisdom kind of tells us that no one knew about him. You know, an assistant, a defense coordinator.
He never thought
people in the business, though, knew about Mike Tomlin. You know, I've been down in Tampa for a number of years, know the coaching staff down there, the players. They spoke very highly of Mike Tomlin when he was down in Tampa as a secondary coach. Brad Childress goes to Minnesota. He hires him away from Tampa to be his defensive coordinator. So people in the know knew about Mike Tomlin. Obviously, what he's doing now, everyone knows about him.
6-2 at the moment as a first-year head coach. Pretty good.
Darn good.
Allen Rossum with a return. You want to talk about one that would be salt in the wound, pushed out of bounds by the punter Cook. For Rossum, who's over 10,000 career return yards. And that'll wrap it up. Tomlin's team will take a knee. The Steelers are going to win by 31 tonight. So they've won all 4 of their home games by 20 or more. They become the 5th team in NFL history and the 2nd team in as many years to win their first 4 at home by 20 or more. The Bears doing it last year, the 91 Redskins, the 49 Eagles. Yes.
The Redskins were a Super Bowl winner. They had a great, great team that year. Only lost 2 games, I think, by a total of 3 points.
And Jaws, do you remember the Buffalo All-Americans from 1920?
Oh, absolutely. Remember them very well. A kid growing up in Buffalo, I remember them.
They invented hot wings, didn't they? At the Anchor Bar.
At the Anchor Bar.
Yeah.
Well, the Ravens, 5 first downs, 104 yards, 7 points, an abysmal night. They go to 4-4. Pittsburgh, 6-2 with their victory. The Ravens did not have a pass completion tonight over 9 yards.
They only threw 2
game.
balls over 20 yards down the field.
And Mike Tomlin on this night, when they bring out all the Steeler greats, he gets to see one of his current players, James Harrison, the linebacker, come up with a superstar night with sacks and turnovers and fumbles. The Ravens and Steelers to meet again when the season comes to an end, and for all the pushing and shoving and all the anger in this game, there's respectful hugs afterwards. Because Pittsburgh did to Baltimore what Baltimore did to Pittsburgh last year. Final score 38-7. For Tony, Jaws, Michelle, and Suze on the field, and all the women and men on our ESPN crew, Mike Tirico. Good night from Pittsburgh. Seahawks Niners next Monday.
See you in Seattle.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.